Hey Sam, what's going on? Checking my volume. Checking my volume. What's going on? Hey Sam, how you doing? Thanks everybody for tuning in. Got an early one today. Got an early one today. You know, let me send the invite. Go ahead and get started. Get in it. Hope everyone is having a good morning. Grand rising. What's going on? Miss LA, I see you. We get you on in here. Hey,
Hey, how
how
are
you doing?
you?
How you doing, Miss LA?
Good. How are
How's it?
you?
I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
Pretty good. It's early here.
Yeah, it's early over here too. So like
Yeah, I know.
what what part of the area are you from? I never asked.
I'm in Calgary, Alberta, so kind of just above Montana, I suppose.
Okay, all right,
A
all
bit
right.
of a drive above Montana.
Okay. And I'm in Alabama, so I see where I got the map on my wall,
Yeah.
so I see why I didn't know that we had the same time area, like central time. I didn't know we were on the same time, but
Oh no, I'm in Mountain Time, so
oh,
we're
you're
a
in Mountain
little a
Time.
little off. Yeah.
Okay. I got you. All right. Well, my mistake then. I'm sorry. I thought we was.
That's okay.
My bad. All right. Okay. Well, nice to meet you, ma'am. You know what I mean. I am Cooks 24. You know what I mean. I do this. You know, I've talked with a lot of people. I'm from the team. You know what I mean, and we definitely let everybody always bring up your name. You know what I'm saying, and mention you. I've heard a lot about your work, and you know what I'm saying. So I was like, well, it's a definite that I should meet you, try to meet you, and ask you some stuff about all the things that you have coming up, things you have already done, um, just and just in general, some of the things you went through as writer, editor in chief. You know what I'm saying? Author, artist, adventurer, activist, a literator, aardvark, and that's a lot of you know what I mean. That's a lot of stuff. What's going on, ASAP team? I see y'all in there. You know what I mean? And that is a lot to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Plus a mom at that too, which is the number one. You know what I mean? So first thing I would like to ask you, just I ask everybody, how you doing? How's life been treating you? How are things going with you?
I feel like busy is a little cliche of an answer, but busy. We've been renovating a house and I'm about to move back in there. I've been living with my parents for a while and 8 months pregnant and all that stuff. So Christmas. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff going on right now. So yeah, it's a little busy.
Exactly. So, let's see. We might as well just jump right into it. Everybody that's tuning in, I am Cooks 24 Podcast, uh, and this is Miss L.A. Cunningham. And that's Miss L.A.
And
Cunningham. Did I say that right?
yeah, that's fine. I just say you can call me Lori. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Or
LA
no,
Cunningham's just the author name.
okay. I was getting to that because I
Yeah.
noticed that I seen the Lori clothing line, and that right there that caught me. I was like, oh, okay, so she also is part of a clothing line too. I remember I talking about that with ASAP earlier. We're gonna get
Oh
into
yeah,
that.
yeah,
We're gonna
yeah.
get
I
into
guess
that. We're
yeah,
gonna get into
AF4.
that. So well, let's go ahead and dive into it a little bit. You released your debut book in 2020 called Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue. Um, Co-author with Mr. Paul. You know what I'm saying? He was the co-author of the creation, and that was the pretty much the driving force to starting a whole lot more.
Yeah.
What was your journey? What was kind of give me a little us me a brief journey behind that creating points of villainy and points of virtue.
Yeah, I guess I had known Paul for probably about a year, just we'd met online. And same thing, I was pregnant at the time. So I think that like around when we decided to do points of villainy, points of virtue, I think my daughter was almost a year. And I hadn't been doing a lot of writing and I'd been trying to, but it was just hard to get in the mindset and stuff. And Paul and I had been kind of thrown around the idea of doing an anthology together. Like
Mhm.
basically since we first met, we're like, you should write something together. Like we just seemed to vibe pretty well. And yeah, this kind of just came, we tried a few things and nothing had really caught on. And then basically he's like, do you want to write an anthology together? And like kind of mentioned that like there was this big event in the ASAP comics world. And I knew he was starting his business and stuff. And I was kind of just on the sidelines cheering him on. Like I wasn't really into it, but still just supporting a friend and stuff.
Mhm.
And I think life was pretty busy. So I was kind of like, you're crazy that you want me to do this with you. Like I have no time. But he was he was very persuasive. So I guess I jumped in. Turns out I'm crazy too. And yeah, we just started writing and I had a lot of support from my family and stuff to watch my daughter and just so I could go basically I had to get out of the house and so I started like I typically go to Starbucks and then eventually I was sitting in my car because everything was closed
Right.
with the whole pandemic and stuff. So yeah, but I just kind of needed to like get out of the house to, I guess, kind of break that attachment. So I'm not being a mom at the same time and wondering what's going on. So yeah, so it was just right in my car and him rooting me on and me rooting him on. And yeah, somehow we came up with a book and it was like, I think I started writing in July and it came out in the very end of November. We snuck it in.
Hmm.
And so it was a quick turnaround and yeah, it was good having an accountability partner and writing again and it was super fun. And then yeah, one thing led to another and now I'm full in ASAP. There's no turning back now. But
And,
yeah, no regrets though at all. Super fun.
what was some of the what was some of your inspiration, you know what I'm saying, for like the stories, like some of the inside story that you had to write.
Um, so basically the whole book is centered around this like one like kind of mysterious paranormal event that basically happens in London and it's hugely and catastrophic in this big life-changing event for all the residents there. And it's basically kind of just started picking out things that we're most afraid of and that kind of so pick like one of your fears or even a fear that someone else that you know someone else has and kind of just start writing a story around that. So
Hmm.
yeah, there was a lot of that was pretty much what each story is. I think basically its own fear and there's this like creepy story centered around it. So yeah, so it's fun. It's to write about people's fears and trying to scare people. So
Okay.
yeah, because
Now,
it's like horror. It's horror-ish. Like it's not like I don't think it's super scary, but it's definitely a little psychological.
okay. So I know, and I was reading in the on the website lacunningham.com. You know, I gotta throw that in. You
Yeah,
said that you wanna. I want, if I'm saying it right, you want to be able to make people get up and check their doors, make sure they lock and
yeah,
check their doors, type of thing. Which I felt
yeah,
that
for
too.
sure.
So some that even though this ain't the next thing I was gonna ask you about, my will ask you now while we right here. When you write and when you have your finished product, what is it that, like, say, if me as a reader, what is it that you want me to get out of your what you write, your product?
Just a connection, I think. Like if you don't really relate to the characters of the book, like because some of the stuff I write, it's typically fiction, so and it typically borderlines more like paranormal or fantasy or sci-fi or horror. So there's going to be some fantastical elements where you can't be like, oh man, I really relate to that time where I was an elf and jumped on a spaceship and all that stuff. So like that stuff's not as relatable, but it's kind of the stories underneath that like you kind of pick human experiences and just kind of layer them in and hope that people relate there. So
Okay.
that's kind of what I'm hoping for. People
Okay.
can find something they relate to.
Cool. That's cool. And that's cool. Um, you said that you lived in a world of what ifs and what could be's. I read that in
Yeah.
your elaborate on that a little bit for what I'm saying, just to show the imagination, because I can tell that you have a big imagination, which means you're a great thinker. So, what did you mean when you said that?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of the whole escapism. Like it's kind of like we're not like again, I'm very drawn towards more fantasy and sci-fi and horror and stuff. So it's kind of like all the stuff that you could be and could imagine up and that maybe don't happen in your normal life. Like it's kind of I don't know. Some people don't live the most exciting lives. I think when I wrote all that stuff, I was still doing my. I was started kind of accounting as like an environmental accountant and had the office job. So I think there was a lot of daydreaming for kind of something bigger.
Hmm.
And I know when I was little, I always wanted to be. I'd watch all those shows where like someone's 16th birthday or 18th birthday, something would happen and they'd become the chosen one essentially. And I'm just like, where are my powers? Like, damn it. So yeah, it's kind of that. So it's just kind of giving people a bit of escapism, I guess. And they can be small what ifs or big what ifs or what could be's and stuff. So yeah, I think that's kind of where that inspiration comes from.
Okay.
And you can just
Um.
kind of be bigger than you are if you want to be.
Right. Okay. Um. So what I know you probably maybe have already answered this in so many words. But like, what actually made you want to start creating your own stories?
So I'm one of those people who wasn't a writer my whole life.
Oh,
Like,
really?
if anything, I was kind of more drawn to the artsier side of things. Like when I was little, I wanted to be a cartoonist and all
Oh,
those
okay.
various kinds of things. And then that kind of fell off as I got older and kind of got pushed more into the academic side of things, I suppose. But it basically happened. I was traveling over to Ghana and I started a travel blog just to kind of keep in touch with people back home. And yeah, I think when I came back, some people were like, "Oh, I loved your blog, and you're such a good writer," and it didn't really stick or anything. I was just like, "Oh yeah, thanks," kind of just brushing it off. And
Hmm.
then, but also, I kind of went over there to try and like have a new dabble in a new career, see if it was something I wanted to do with my life and all that stuff. And turned out it wasn't really exactly what I thought it would be.
Hmm.
And so I kind of came back and was looking for a new direction. And my boyfriend was basically just like, well, what if you tried doing some writing?
Hmm.
And so he suggests I take some courses, so just kind of some online courses, continuing education courses, that kind of style. And yeah, I was kind of just doing it as a hobby at the time, but then I got into this one course that was called Publishing and Promoting Your Work. And one of the assignments was to sign up for Twitter, of all things.
Mm,
I was
okay.
pretty resistant to signing up to another social media platform. I'm a pretty late adopter on all those things.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess once I kind of created an author platform and started telling a whole bunch of strangers that I was a writer, kind of decided maybe I should write. So that's really like a kind of in a weird way I kind of fell into it, it seems, but
Hmm.
it was kind of it was a direction I was going. But yeah, I think just there's little nudges along the way from various people and kind of kept me going that direction. People saw
Okay.
the potential and just kind of the dominoes lined up and fell into place. So yeah,
Uh,
that's
uh,
kind of how I ended up doing this.
and what's something that you done learned about yourself since from what you just told me to this point right now? What's something that you learned about yourself, maybe that uh not maybe that you are proud of, that you know what I'm saying, like you can look back and say, I did that. Like I didn't know I could do that at one point, and I know I can do that, and now I know I'm good at that. Like, what's one thing off the top of your head that you can say that about yourself?
um, I think in a weird way, kind of connecting with people. Like I've always been pretty introverted to the point where people assume I'm shy. Like I don't think I'm necessarily shy. I'm just kind of reserved. But I think that once I started connecting with people who I shared interests with,
Hmm.
it was it was interesting to kind of in a weird way, it almost like kind of brought me out of my shell in a way and like kind of stirred up a passion. Like, I don't know if I was ever super passionate about anything in a weird way. Like, there was stuff I was interested in and stuff I do, but to suddenly be around a whole bunch of people who are trying to chase their dreams and go after what they want and all that stuff, it was really interesting to like be around, I don't know, just be in a group of supportive people and kind of everyone just lifting each other up and getting to be one of those people to lift others up as well. So I
Hmm.
think that was kind of like the big change where it kind of brought that out in me that I didn't really know I was there. And I accuse like Paul of kind of being the one to blame for that because I'm just like, because I think that sometimes when you don't care about things, it's easier to like um not worry about succeeding or failing. Like if you fail, it's not as a big a deal because you're like, well, I didn't really care about that anyways. But suddenly when you're care about something so much, you're like, I have no choice but to put all of my like heart and effort and soul into something. And then suddenly it feels like the stakes are really high,
Hmm.
which is like, it feels like a big risk at the same time, but at the same time, the payoffs are huge. So
Exactly.
it was really, yeah, it was like really, really kind of interesting, like if I, an outer body experience to kind of like step out and see myself kind of change and like become kind of passionate about something. So, and it went in a direction I didn't really expect. Like I never intended to end up in comics, but yeah, it was kind of, yeah, it was just an interesting thing to kind of see in hindsight, or I guess like looking back on everything.
Okay. And I'm glad you mentioned that. The ASAP. Tell us about the like the ASAP team. And how far that they reach across the U.S. as well as the world. You know what I'm saying? And you're a part of it. And also, uh, it's a big thing for the indie comic society. You know what I'm saying? The indie writer society. It's a real big thing. So if you don't mind, elaborate on that. It's just how far the teams stretch out and how tight knit everybody is with each other. You know what I'm saying? Basically, y'all communicate together very great. You know what I'm saying? I really support that. Big up that. You know what I'm saying? It's a real inspiring thing, like you're saying. You know what I mean? For all people to come together like that and constantly build and build and build. So I was wondering, coming from your thoughts of that part of the journey and getting to know everybody and stuff like that. Like how has that been? How great has that been?
Yeah, it's honestly been one of the best things ever. Because it was like I said at the start, I was kind of just cheering on a friend, and then when I got pulled into it, I think Paul has this way of just talking about things, and you have no choice but to want to be a part of it. And I
Yep.
think again, like it's just kind of like I said, the domino thing, and then suddenly you're passionate about it and telling other people. So like at the time when we started writing our anthology, I was a critique partner with Sarah Butcher, who you had on, I think a
Hmm.
week or within the last week or a week ago. And like the same thing, I just met her on Twitter and we were friends and we were both kind of dabbling in writing novels and stuff. Or she was doing a better job at that than I was. But yeah, and then I kind of like was getting her to check my short stories, and then somehow we ended up luring her into being our editor. So
Hmm.
she started becoming involved in that. And then Paul had met D.W. Howard, or Nemesis, or however you want to call him. I find it really weird calling him David. I only know him as Nem. But yeah, so he'd met him through Comic Crusaders, and he started off doing some trailers and helping us with our covers and stuff and doing some graphic and visual design for us. And yeah, it was just same thing. Like you just start having all these people that you just start grabbing into your circle, and you can just see like little sparks of passion light up in people's eyes. And Paul has a whole bunch of artist friends, and like he had Kyle doing his Messiah comic. And then, yeah, I think that like there's just all these people that just slowly kind of gravitated towards us the more we talked about it. And they're from all over the world. Like I'm in Canada and Paul's in the UK, and we got Nem and Sarah down in the States and kind of on different sides of it. And then yeah, we have just like a lot of people seem to be actually no, there's a lot of people in the US and UK. And but then we have some like clients that we're working with, like one of our people from the Anyone world is over in Japan, and yeah, and we got artists in Argentina, and there's just it's cool. It's just like the kind of like the more we grow, it's like we're growing globally at the same time. Like it's not just like like we're going outwards and getting depth and width, I guess, at the same time. So it's pretty cool to watch it all happen. And it's only been really like just over a year since the
Yeah.
whole thing started. Like there's some background work before it was officially founded, but yeah, it's grown crazy fast, and it's super fun to be a part of it and just meet more people who are passionate about it and want to be involved. So
Yeah. And I
yeah,
have,
the meeting people is super fun.
it really is. Like just like you said, I can relate with you. Like when I met Mr. Paul, you know what I mean? Me and him, when we talked, it was Father's Day. And you know what I'm saying, we really pretty much became friends through that interview podcast or talk, whatever anybody want to call it. And we became friends. And you know, I'm big on being positivity type spread, you know what I mean? And I feel like, you know, for me, it was a big deal because, you know, people around your area, you know what I mean? I know people can relate to this. It's people around your area that you can know for so long and not have created anything with. And then me in Alabama, down south in the States, and somebody like him over there in the other side of the world, you know, Ireland, and for us to have a, you know, hour and a half talk about something that he worked hard for and then created, and now he's created something, and now other people showing what they work hard for, and then it's like boom, there it is, you know, it come out, you know what I'm saying? That like you with the picture with the books, it's like right there, the proof is in the pudding, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's like, yo, it's like, man, it's a good thing and it feel good, you know what I mean? Uh, Let me segue into this. You're an activist, right?
When I can be.
So, what social problems do you tackle, or do you take on, or do you join in to help change?
I think I used to have like a pretty big like I was an environmental accountant for an oil and gas company and hoping to kind of create some change from the inside, which was hard. You're definitely run into some walls and some bureaucracy and stuff. And then like when I went to Ghana, it was kind of more of like a community, like kind of that international community development and stuff. But I think like I've done like a few kind of big things.
Hmm.
And I think that it was kind of made me realize that it's not necessarily about the big actions. Like a lot of people are doing things. So it's kind of like more the smaller actions. Like sometimes it's not about convincing a stranger, like especially like online. I feel like you're not going to change a lot of people's minds just by arguing with them or
Yeah,
debating and
yeah,
stuff.
you're
So
right.
I think that some of that is more, it's kind of turned into more of a one-on-one thing where it's just like if you hear someone say something and they're a friend or a family member and stuff and you're like, it doesn't quite line up with what I think or what I know and stuff. So it's kind of more just kind of the one-on-one conversations again where like I'm not going to like I went once upon a time I went to like a climate march and stuff and I feel like I don't know. I don't know if like things like that are visible,
Hmm.
but it's like sometimes it's just about supporting the people who have who know things better and have something to say and kind of lifting them up and giving them the spotlight. I think so. I think that's kind of more like my activism. I think they're kind of more like small things, but it's kind of you hope they add up. I guess is kind of where that goes.
Okay. Um, as a positive person, I can see that you are. Um, how do you deal with some of the negative things on your side of town? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, where you stay in your area, where you live. How do you beat up them negative things? You know what I'm saying? Because I can see, you know, so I can just tell from your energy that you rather be positive than negative. Like you rather not argue, you rather deal with something than argue. I can just tell by some of the things you're telling me. Uh,
Yeah.
so as a person who rather be positive than negative, what's some of your recipes for getting that negative mess out the way, even if it's a bad thought in your head while you're trying to write? You know what I'm saying? How do you push that stuff away? What's your force?
Um, I think I guess sometimes you almost have to like allocate your time and you have to kind of choose when you want to be engaged and when you just don't have the and like recognize when you don't have the energy for that. Like I kind of have some mental health things, like get anxious and depressed and stuff. So
Hmm.
sometimes when you're just, you can't tackle everything at once. Like, again, you're like one person, and one person can do a lot, but it's a lot to take on too many burdens at once. So I think it's very much like, at some point you have to be like, okay, I care about this, but maybe I can't deal with this right now. So I
Hmm.
think it's recognizing that things are there, and maybe you want to do something, and kind of stepping back and like deciding what's kind of the most bang for your buck, I suppose. So because you can't do everything, and I feel like life life is busy enough, and like we all have our own stuff going on, and like, yes, there's worse things going on, but like it doesn't necessarily mean that your things don't matter. So I think that that's kind of an important thing to remember, that just because there's all these awful things going on, like you still have to get through your day. So
Yes.
like, yeah, you got to tackle the things that are in front of you, and like you can't drop certain balls. Like being a parent, like you can't just be like, well, I'm not going to raise my kid today. But like there's other things you can choose not to do, and then maybe tackle when you have some more time or some more capacity and energy and stuff
Right.
like that. So yeah, it's very much just choosing how to allocate your time, but which is way easier said than done. Like I feel like I'm awful at that. Like anytime I talk about trying to maintain a balance, it usually starts with, I'm awful at maintaining a balance, but I'm trying. So it's just another one of those things.
Okay. And since you mentioned it, I was gonna ask this later, but I might well ask it now as well. Being a mom, how did that change? Like how did that change? The road that you're going down. Like, did it make it harder, or did it make it um, what's the word I'm looking for? More make you more exhausted, where you had to get more rest? Like, what's one or two big things that changed since doing this and being a mom, which I know a lot has changed, but it coming from you though, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
just like, yeah, just one thing. I think it kind of comes back to a time thing again. Like I
Hmm.
think I didn't realize how much of an independent person I was until suddenly I had to put some little small human kind of ahead of me a lot. And so it was like, it's like you're giving up your sleep, and you're giving up your time and all that stuff. So I think one of, like, again, the main thing where, like, kind of looking back, I really took how much time I had for things. Like I really took that for advantage, like
Hmm.
before being a mom. Where it's
Hmm.
just like, in theory, I could have just written anytime I want. I could stay up super late and just write till 3 a.m. But now I know if I do that, I'm going to be just exhausted the next day. So I think, in a weird way, like, now that I have less time, I almost use it better, because it's just that much more precious to me. Because I know, like, if I have an hour here or there, like, I don't know when, especially for like writing or doing ASAP stuff, it's like, I don't know when the next time I'll have that time, I guess,
Right.
essentially, to do something. So yeah, I think it's just like, it really makes that time precious and makes me more efficient in a way. Whereas before, I just took it for granted, and it's just like, I got like 8 hours today. I don't feel like doing much. I'm just going to binge watch something on Netflix or something. Whereas like now I'm like, I got 30 minutes. Like, what can I do that, if this is the only 30 minutes I have today to do something productive? Like, what's
Hmm.
one thing I can do to kind of take a step forward, knowing that I might not have another 30 minutes for a couple days or so. So yeah, I think that's been kind of my biggest change in mindset, I think.
Is there ever a moment? Is there ever a moment of the day where you think about that? Like, still to this day, like, is there a moment where you be like, man, like, I got so much I gotta do, and then you kind of like just get started doing it? Do you ever run into them moments during the day?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think there's also like the the moments where you're like, okay, I only got 30 minutes. And then you're also like, I should be productive. But it's also like, but I also kind of just want 30 minutes to do nothing. So it's like, again, it's that constant battle of like, what should you do with your time? And like I said, always, I'm not always very awesome at that. So it's definitely tricky. But yeah, I feel like I think about it all the time. Where I'm just like, okay, how can I best use my time? And sometimes best using your time is just relaxing. Like, you can't just go nonstop all the time. Like you do need to
You gotta
relax,
recharge. You gotta
relax and
recharge.
rest. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta
for sure.
recharge. Oh, I've since I've been like, I don't want to say, I guess studying or just keeping myself up to date with like, knowledge of yourself, just realizing certain things that you have to do with your body and sleep, getting good sleep help heal you too as well. You know what I'm saying? And so like what you're saying is absolutely right. Sometimes you have to take a, a you have to recharge. Like yesterday when I got off, I made sure I took me a good nap because I was ready to do this. Like when I'm ready to do something, it's hard for me to sleep. So
Oh yeah.
I knew I was gonna be. So I knew I was gonna be like, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, because I like when I was doing my research on, on you and going and checking all the pages and listening to all the stuff on your YouTube channel. And her YouTube channel is Comic Con Artist. Y'all make sure y'all check her YouTube channel out, Comic Con Artist. And there's a story behind that because you fooled me when I seen that. You fooled me. I was like, Comic Con Artist. Let me go check out what she drawing up. But then it was a whole different story, and I was like, okay, okay. So, but we gonna get into that too. Uh,
Sure.
your book, Sister Grimm Purgatory, which is a graphic novel that you created. Am I correct?
Yeah, that I'm
Um,
currently creating.
Currently created. Okay.
Yeah.
Take us on a little journey on how you created this book and the type of emotions you was feeling creating Sister Grimm Purgatory.
Okay, so she basically came out of, again, Paul and I writing our Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue anthology.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, in the book, one of the very first story I ever wrote for it was from the perspective of this little girl,
Mm-hmm.
basically going through the event, and her parents are fleeing London and trying to get to her aunt's place. And then we we were looking for ways to kind of connect the two sides of the book, because one's kind of light and one's kind of dark, and like you got tragic and got the tragic endings and the hopeful endings and stuff. So we kind of decided to connect the two sides of the book. So out of her mom ended up being one of the people that made sense to write another story.
Mm-hmm.
So that was so then there's the second story that follows her mom, Lily Connors, and she's a doctor, and she's heading back to the city, and as she's trying to get there, she's having these basically run-ins with death, like in physical form, and basically being haunted. Like, I forget if I said she's a doctor, but she's being haunted by kind of her past patients and stuff that have died on her. So it's basically kind of like, yeah, one of her like nightmares kind of come to life, I suppose. And then when Paul and I were writing our stories, we were kind of just like, we were cheering each other on and being accountability partners, but we were still kind of writing them individually. And then obviously, because it's like a co-written book, we're like, okay, we need to come together and figure out, make sure everything lines up and make sure that our stories match and the timelines. And there was a few stories that just didn't quite match time-wise. So
Mm-hmm.
there was one I had to rewrite the beginning and kind of change the setting. And like, fortunately, there wasn't too much that needed to be changed. But this one, Lily Connors, and her story is called Angel of Death. Basically, the whole ending needed a rewrite, because just, yeah, the timeline wasn't matching at all. And so Paul and I were just kind of bouncing ideas around, and then we came up with this ending. And I think once we kind of got it together, he was just like, this is a comic book character. And I'm just like, okay, neat. Like, what does that mean to me? Like, I guess at the time I wasn't planning on writing comics or anything. Like, I was just like working with a friend, and we were just writing a book together and some short stories.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, well, do you want to write a comic book? And I think at that point I was planning on doing some more writing with ASAP, but kind of more from like kind of more short stories and kind of more the prose side of things, and maybe the not so supernatural characters, I suppose.
Okay.
And then yeah, I guess the idea intrigued me. But at the same time, I'd never written a comic before, and I wasn't actually like, wouldn't really call myself a huge comic book fan. Like, growing up, I read like Calvin and Hobbes, Garfield, I don't know, Archie's, those kind of things,
Okay.
but nothing like, not a collector, and not really like, again, not super passionate about anything, not like big into the fandom. So yeah, I guess that yeah, kind of like, are you sure you want me to do this again? Like a lot of self-doubt, I suppose, in general. But yeah, like I had read some of his scripts, and him and Kyle released Messiah basically at the exact same time as Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue. So I'd kind of seen everything come together. Got to be a part of, like, not a part of it, but kind of on again, cheering him on and getting to kind of see behind the scenes.
Hmm.
And basically, he's just like, well, you can do this. It's like, I've done this. It's like, and so basically, he kind of became my mentor and kind of helped write a script. And yeah, so I started plugging away at it, and I was trying to follow his formatting. But I think that because I'm not like sometimes when I'm writing, I'm not super like, I don't have the mental images always like up in my brain, I suppose. Like, I don't necessarily know what the characters look like and stuff like that, and like I don't see everything kind of just visually laid out before me. So
Hmm.
I think kind of trying to come up with panels and like layouts and stuff was like really slowing me down and making me overthink a lot of the story. So eventually I'm just gonna get the story out. I
Hmm.
just plow through, and then we'll kind of worry more about the panels and stuff later. And so did work on some panels as we've gone, and that's still something I need to finish and all that. But yeah, so I think, yeah, it just kind of plowed through, and the story really came together. And like I've said before, that out of everything I've written, I think just because, like, even though I don't normally see people and stuff in my head when I write kind of prose, I think because I had to bring her to life, and I was using Google Maps and walking through London and stuff. So like, I was trying to, like, because you're trying to make it super realistic, and I haven't been like, I've been through London. I haven't actually like explored it. So I think that trying to make it realistic and bring it to life and set up scenery, like maybe just brought her that much more to life.
Hmm.
So she became one of these really easy characters to write. And I think, yeah, I think just like, again, like, she was someone I really connected to because, like, again, I'm not a doctor, and don't have superpowers or anything, but she's going through this kind of journey where she's like lost. It's like kind of the premise of the book is after the Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue. So it's like 3 months after the event,
Hmm.
she essentially wakes up in a morgue, and she doesn't have any memories other than these kind of flashbacks, and she doesn't know where her family is or what she's been up to the last 3 months, and she has these powers that she's dealing with. But she's basically just trying to like find, after kind of losing who she was, she's trying to find who she is now and where she fits in the world, which
Hmm.
I think is kind of to me at least, it's a really relatable premise of just feel like I don't know about other people, but I feel like I'm always kind of trying to find my place where I fit in the world and what path and like who I want to be and all that stuff. So yeah, I think that was, yeah, just like why she was so easy to write. And then I ended up giving her this, who will eventually be a sidekick, I guess. He's just this like smart, cracking, witty, obnoxious guy or whatever. And he's like an older guy and basically a bit of a bad influence, bit reckless and stuff. But he's kind of the comedic relief. And again, he was super fun to write, and they just have this really good dynamic. And I know that, like, in kind of describing the story, I've mentioned that, like, as like she's kind of like represents my depression, and he kind of represents my coping mechanisms in a way. So yeah, it's just kind of like, yeah, they have like a fun little dynamic, and the story's dark and twisty, and but yeah, it's like it has some good humor, or at least I think it has some good humor in it.
Okay.
I think I'm funny. But yeah, so yeah, it was just yeah, it just really came to life, and I'm excited to see what some artists can do with it and bring it that much more to life. And yeah, it's just a really fun thing to write, and I still have some work to do on it, and got a baby on the way, so I feel like I'm running out of time. So, but yeah, like I'll peck away at it, and it'll get done. But yeah,
Okay.
it's been
Okay.
fun to work on.
And so you have one on the way now. You have a baby on the way
Yeah.
now? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you already had
Yeah.
one. You already had one and another one. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah. I decided I wanted even less time to do things. So.
Okay. So, talking about that, what was the feeling becoming a published author? What was that feeling like?
I think surreal is really kind of the best way to describe it. I think when I first started writing and kind of learning about the publishing industry, I'm like, well, like maybe I can get a book out in 5 years, or I don't know. People have some crazy timelines. Way back when, I assumed I wanted to go through traditional publishing, where you wanted to write a novel, which takes time, obviously, and polish it up and then query it. And then once an agent has it, then you have to sell it to a publisher, and then a publisher has their own slow deadline and stuff. So I had like really, I didn't have like a ton of huge expectations on on how soon I would like get something out there. I was kind of like yes, I was doing it semi seriously, but it was a kind of a hobby still. When again, I think that like working with Paul
Hmm.
and working with ASAP, like we've kind of joked that like ASAP has become our motto for things, where it's like, yeah, we'll just do things as soon as possible. So like, why wait a year or 2 years to put something out there when you can get to a certain level of quality, and we're like, yeah, we'll just crank this out and get our get our stuff, get shit done, essentially.
Hmm.
So yeah, like I think that that was one of those things where my I thought it would take me so long to do something, and then I started writing Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue in July, and we had it out by November, which was a crazy fast turnaround and something I never would have expected. And I think that like once you do it, it suddenly makes that much more seem possible. It's just like
Hmm.
something seems like this really kind of insurmountable thing. We're like a published book, essentially. And then suddenly once you do it, you're like, oh, like I can publish more. And then it just seems everything starts to seem more achievable. And I think that happens with kind of each milestone we hit, that everything just seems that much more achievable. And like we did that with our perspectives anthology, with all those, with a whole bunch of authors and stuff. And same thing, it had a 3 month turnaround. And it, again, it was like our first ever anthology with a whole bunch of authors, and we knew some and didn't know others. And it just came together really fast. And it's just, I feel like every day we hit some milestone, and it just seems like the more milestones you hit, just everything seems that much more possible and that much more achievable. And
Hmm.
so the big dreams that kind of seem out there don't seem as out there and seem like they're within reach. And like, yes, you maybe still have a long way to go, but they're definitely, they start to seem like they're not just like they're not just like dreams you can't ever achieve anymore. Like you can get there, which is,
Hmm.
yeah, been super fun for that.
Um, you there was one where I saw something where you said it's a dedication. You said it well, it was said and you re spoke it for the ones who dream of stranger worlds. And
Yeah.
I read where you said they you see they gave you chills. Why did they give you chills?
So that's from a book called A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab.
Okay.
And when I first decided to be a writer, or first kind of thought that that might be possible, I had just finished her trilogy. And I think it was kind of, I'll give that book some credit. And there's this other book called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, where I read them both at the same time. And one's kind of more of like a self-help creative book. And but it just kind of, those two books kind of gave me inspiration on the kind of writer I wanted to be. Like I had my first novel idea, and V. Schwab was just kind of, she's just kind of a writer that like not that I want to be, but I think she's like one of those kind of like hashtag author goals or whatever. So like she's just like, I really like her style, and I like her, like the kind of stories she writes, and even like her as a person and stuff. So I think that I've just really connected with that book. And then I think the whole, like the book is like you're moving between multiple worlds and stuff. Like there's kind of, it takes place in London, ironically, I guess, now that I work for a UK company and I'm writing in London. But there's basically 4 different Londons that these people can kind of like travel through. that are like all kind of like in the same place and it's just different worlds. And I think that like, I think it kind of gives me chills because, again, it's just like the possibility and like for the people who are chasing like unique things and kind of stepping outside the comfort zone and just certain things like connect with me. Like I love, like nothing excites me more when people are just like, screw society, I'm going to go do what I want. And then like screw the societal expectations, I guess. And just like, I'm going to do my own thing and go after my own dreams and go chase strange worlds and strange things like that. So I think that's, yeah, it's just fun. And yeah, I think that quote just kind of reminds me of like why I started and just kind of connects me to that author and the other one. So it's like a good reminder to see to remember where your roots are and why you began this in the beginning. Like motivations can change, but it's nice to remember what first drove you.
Mm-hmm. True.
And kind of hold
True.
on to that.
I agree. I agree with that totally. Okay. Perspectives. Um, which is a big deal. You know what I mean? How much has it changed, you know what I mean, lives or ideals for those part of the community and for you, in your opinion, or thoughts, facts, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I think perspectives was one of those things where I didn't realize how big it would be for me. And like, because when we first started it, like Paul had this idea to like raise money for a charity and do a charity anthology. And we picked or I guess he picked the Dyspraxia Foundation because
Mm-hmm.
his son has dyspraxia.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff you've heard about,
Mm-hmm.
just in case anyone's new
Oh
listening.
yeah, yeah,
But
yes.
yeah, so it was basically we wanted to raise money and awareness for that. So a whole bunch of people just donated their time, and we kind of like at the start it was very much like I was trying to design the cover and I was planning on doing all the edits, and I'm just like and I think when stories started coming in and kind of seeing all the people who wanted to be a part of this and there's a whole bunch of new people that were like, oh yeah, like this story has this, we should have this story in. And I think it was kind of just like I I play with graphic design, but I'm not a graphic designer. And it was like kind of one of those things where I'm like we can go out and like recruit some more people. And I had some friends that were like, I think that were more suited to some of the jobs. Like we had a friend that was a graphic designer, and so we brought in Kelsey Connors, and she basically donated the cover and designed the cover for us. And again, just kind of out of she believed in it and wanted to be a part of it. And same thing, we brought in Jessica Mondi as our editor, and she was also she was very pregnant at the time, and so she was just we were like a bit aware that we're chasing we had a deadline with her too, so we're like we gotta hurry up and get this edited before she has a baby.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it was just really cool that like again we weren't like we had a vision, but just again, it was so many people just were attracted to it and wanted to be a part of it, and like everyone just donated their time. So kind of to just see that and have stories where authors are just like, yeah, I just want my story out there. And so
Mm-hmm.
many of the authors were new. Like I think it's about half of them. I think that was what we figured, that was their first time ever being published. And while we're doing it, like it was a cool process, and that was kind of my first time kind of project managing a little bit and coordinating covers and layouts and editing, and like obviously like Jess was more communicating with the authors directly and helping fix up their stories and all that stuff. So that kind of led to the like I think before we got it out, that was kind of when I became the editor in chief. So it's kind of just like, hey, you're doing a lot of this stuff already.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you should be maybe you should just take the title on. And again, I was like, you always have that imposter syndrome where I'm like, I don't deserve this. Like there's so many more people qualified than me. And Paul's just like, look at the job descriptions of what this is. And so it's like, you're this. It's like, you might as well just accept it. He's just like, I won't pressure you, but he's just like, I would like you to take this role. So I think that was kind of a big step for me. Again, kind of having like I've been working with ASAP, and like nothing really changed having a new title, but it just, I don't know, something about it makes it feel more official, and like you're just
Mm-hmm.
like, well, you're in it now.
Yeah, you're
So
in it now.
might as well yeah. And then once it got published, like I think that was super eye-opening, like just seeing people's reactions and seeing people take selfies with the book, and like I said, I think it's 8 authors. Those 8 authors who that was their first time being published and seeing what it meant to them, and like it was just really, really touching to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that kind of like Paul has always been one of those people who wanted to lift people up, and I was like not against lifting people up, but like I think it like that was just that kind of that final moment where I'm like, yeah, like I want to do more of this, and like I want to like help more people, and like I said, like already was wanted to help people, but like
Mm-hmm.
just kind of seeing that reaction and seeing how much it meant to help others achieve their dreams. Like I know that moment of when I first got to hold my book and or see my name on a spine on a cover, like it's a big deal. And I know that like same thing, once you see it's possible, I think it makes, like I said, I think it makes all those other things possible. So to kind of help to get to be a part of showing other writers what's possible was a really
Mm-hmm.
cool thing to be a part of. And I think something that like definitely is something you want to keep being a part of. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I think like for me it was like pretty life changing, I suppose, or eye opening, I guess, on that side of me. And yeah, like and it's just super fun. And like now that we have more authors coming through the Anyone world and sharing their own books, and even on the ASAP team, like we got people who are putting stuff out there that they've never done before, and like it's all just really touching
Mm-hmm.
seeing people get to have their dreams come true. And like obviously they're all putting in a crazy amount of work as well, like more obviously as well, like they have to write the stuff and come up with the ideas and all that stuff. But yeah, it's just it's super fun to get to be a part of people's journeys, like even if you're a little small part, and even if you're just again just on the sidelines cheering someone on. And it's fun seeing people you care about and your friends, even strangers, it's fun seeing people just succeed.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I like seeing people win too. I know what you're
yeah,
saying. I like seeing people win
yeah.
too. You know what I mean?
And especially when they feel like not underdogs, but the writing industry is like it's pretty cruel, and it can be a bit of a grind. So I think that like not that I want to call writers underdogs, but like to kind of rise up and overcome all those obstacles and stuff, it's a lot of work. So there's like that extra, yeah, it's really great to see people.
One of your somebody in your team, I can't remember which one it was I was talking to. I don't know if it was Paul or if it was Neil, but one of them said, "Won't nobody know until you got to write it. You got to put it down. Like if you just keep it in here, or if you just write it right here and then just leave it there, nobody's gonna know nothing. You have to take the
Yeah,
next step. That what you saying right now, you have to take the next step. You have to take the next step in order for it to be heard. So, like, I feel what you're saying. I understand what you're meaning when you say the underdog part. You know what I'm saying? You're not underdogs, but it's like they're gonna look at you like underdog because you're coming out with this. But then once you do what you do and it's there and you see your finished product, it's like you're winning. Keep
yeah,
doing it. Like keep winning, you know what I'm saying? And you know,
yeah.
easier said than done, but once you
Oh, 100%.
do it, you know what I mean? Once you do it, you know what it's gonna take. Um your second publication, a short story called Just a Second. What was that what was that change? Did you have to make any kind of change in your process going from what you created in November to now what you created in August with your second publication? Like, was there a change as far as like your writing process? Did you have to take a break and rest? And you know what I mean? Like, how did that short story come about? The only reason I'm asking because that was your second publication and it
Yeah,
came like that. So like, what was that process like?
yeah. Um, well, yeah, it's about a year later, and I was writing Sister Grimm in between, and obviously doing a whole bunch of behind the scenes ASAP stuff. Like,
Hmm.
it's a lot of admin and all various things that we got going on as well. So, yeah, I think that it wasn't like a huge change because it was still kind of on theme for me. I decided to go a little bit more sci-fi, where I think things, everything I'd written for ASAP is a little more paranormal and kind of fantasy focused. But I'd always wanted to write something with like clockwork and make it creepy. So it was just kind of, it was another kind of horror story ish, Like it definitely had some like creepy vibes and stuff. So, and it was another short story. So it wasn't like a huge difference from what I'd written from Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue. But it was just, it wasn't centered around the event. So I guess there's kind of um, less limitations, I guess, on what I can write, which is sometimes good and sometimes bad. Like sometimes it's nice to, sometimes when you have kind of boundaries, it almost focuses your story a little bit more. Whereas sometimes when you're like, you can write whatever you want, it's just like, sometimes that can almost be overwhelming. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I could literally write any idea I have right now. So yeah, but I think that it kind of gave me a chance to just focus on something I'd been wanting to do. And if like little things clicked in place and kind of came up with a story for it and gotta try and scare people. Like I think that my stories, I'm always trying to scare people and break hearts. That's what I'm always trying to do. Like make people scared and then make people sad. But yeah, so I think it was just yeah, it was fun to get another thing out there and again to be part of like an anthology and just be with all these other like these other 15 amazing authors and like because I was kind of in a unique perspective where I got to go read all their stories and stuff before it was out and got to see the improvements that were made when they were working with our editor and stuff. So and even obviously like I worked with Jess too and she like helped improve my story and I also got to work. Sarah had given it a look too. That's one of my perks of having my critique partner as the ASAP editor is that it's just like, yeah, I'm submitting this super polished piece of work. But yeah, the same thing. Every editor has their own little things that they like notice and stuff. So Jess is able to, she like gave me a few suggestions as well. So yeah, it was just fun to like get to write another story. And it's always just kind of, sometimes like it's fun doing like the layouts and edits and stuff, but sometimes it's just nice to get to write a story. Like I had even recently where I've been doing a lot of editing and like reading other people's stuff, and finally I'm just like, I just need to write something. It's just like I got that itch again. So there was this anthology coming out that kind of had this premise, and I wrote something and submitted it at the anthology, and it didn't get accepted. But at the same time, I'm just like, when I was talking, it's one of those stories that I kind of was just joking with Sarah and Paul about, and it turned into this like ridiculous, silly story. And I'm like, no anthology is gonna want this. I'm like, what? And they're both just like, screw it, write it anyways, and just submit it. So, and it's nice to have people who can just tell you to just be like, screw it, just do it. Like that's, I feel like somehow that's a motto,
Yeah.
just because it rhymes. But yeah, I think that having those people in your corner who just push you even when you have the doubts and all that stuff, like it's good. And same thing, we were like when it didn't get accepted, they're like, well, now you can like do anything with it. It's just like this was
Mm-hmm.
never meant for an anthology. You can just go turn it into a novel or do whatever you want with it. So it's like it's definitely like rejections always hurt when you're a writer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't submit if you didn't have a little bit of hope that it was going to get accepted.
Mm-hmm.
But I think but there's definitely like I've had a lot of things, or maybe not a lot of things, but like definitely a few things where what seemed like a rejection or seemed like little disappointing at one time has turned into this huge opportunity. So I think this is another one of those things where, yeah, now that I get like it's one of those that like every time a door closes, another one opens or
Another
something.
one.
But
Where there's a will, there's a way, huh?
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So yeah, it's just like in the moment, like it can be devastating. You're just like, oh, like no one wants this. But then at the same time, we're like, if no one wants it, it means you can do whatever the heck you want with it, and you can just be as creative as you want. And like that's one of the joys of being self-published or indie or something. Like you can go find your market. You don't have to appeal to as many people as possible, and you don't have to like you can convince people that you can go right to the readers and convince them it's worth reading. You don't have to go through all these middle people. And so yeah, like being indie and being self-published and all that stuff, it gives you like it's a lot of work,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it really opens up your chance for creativity.
Okay. And you are right about that. You also have, looking at your title, checking out your profile, and aardvark and an alliterator. You know what I mean? fill me in on what the aardvark and the alliterator is do. What is that? What is that description? What is that about?
Those ones are literally just jokes because as I was just like way back when I first started Twitter, like you know how you have to write your little bios and stuff, and you only get so many things. Then I had like author and artist and activist and adventurer, and then like, well, I have all these A words, and so I'm just like, an alliterator is typically, I think, when I think about this is right, is basically where you just like kind of repeat sounds. So like alliterator fit in there, it started with an A, and then just aardvark was just a throwaway kind of goofy addition. I regret to inform you, I'm not actually an aardvark in a human suit. But yeah,
They got me
yeah, it was
right
just one of
there.
the yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm just like, I think that's the same thing where it's just like, I think it's just you want to be like, I just like meeting people is so important. And I think you want to be approachable. And I think sometimes, like, maybe in the whole writing community or comic community, kind of like as you grow, I think sometimes people, and you see people talk about that, they're like intimidated and to talk to people and make new friends and stuff. And I think kind of keeping like aardvark in my profile is just kind of to be like, I'm just like a regular person. It's just like people shouldn't like not that I not that I consider myself like a celebrity or like super successful or anything. Like I still feel very small potatoes. But like I just at the end it's just like we're all just people and like we're all just trying to share our stories or put something out there that people might relate to. And I think
Mhm.
one of those things that you hope people relate to is you. Like you're also part of it. Like, yes, people don't need to know the author to appreciate the story or the creator to appreciate the art or whatever, but like meeting people and making connections is basically one of my favorite parts of this. So I think it's just kind of keep you got to keep it silly sometimes. You can't all be like, yes, we're like running a business and it's serious and we got stuff to do, but you also just want to keep it fun and
Yeah.
keep it silly and not take yourselves too seriously.
Yes. One thing about you that as when I was doing my research, because I do my homework when I do this. I don't know if Paul told you or not, but I do my, I try to find
Yeah.
out
Oh,
the
I
stuff
know.
to
I know.
ask. You know what I mean? So it's like this. It's like, okay, everybody saw I'm dropping my water. Oh, if you need to hit the water, go ahead. I don't want to stop you from drinking on the water. If you need to hit the water, go
Yeah.
ahead. Oh, um, you're into poetry. You write. You know what I'm saying? You write poetry, and you know what I mean? Whether it's poems or poetry, whichever one you call them. I mean, I can't tell the difference. It's just like I like to rhyme. I like rhymes. So
Yeah.
your pen game is very strong to me because I love rhymes. You know what I mean? And it don't have to rhyme to be a poem. You know what I mean? It don't have to rhyme, but
Yeah.
it's just for me being a down south country boy, rhyming is a thing for me. You know what I'm saying? So there was, what I'm saying, that as I was looking on your lacunningham.com page, um, you had poems like The Summer Thief, Page Fright, When You Finally Realize. That was a dope one too. It was real short, but it was dope what you wrote because you spoke on it earlier about like basically it's basically what it's stating that what's my biggest problem is me. What's holding me back is me. You know what I mean? And I dug that really well from your poetry page. But the one that really, really, really got me was the one called This Side Up. You know what I'm saying? And I actually wrote that down and I wanted to recite it if you don't mind. Uh,
Yeah, sure.
and you said, I am well made, quality checked, integrity tested, superbly crafted from the strongest materials, but I am delicate, with fine details, intricately pieced together. If I am broken, there may be no fixing me. I am more fragile than I seem, as I don't come with instructions, so handle me with care. This side up. And I stopped and I thought for a second. I'm like, me the way I like rhymes and the way I like rhyming. And I'm thinking like, wow, she could be talking about this, she could be talking about that. Somebody could say that's me, somebody could say that's, like, or you could just be talking about something that needs to be handled with care because they got no
Yeah.
instructions. So be careful with it because you don't know what's in
Yeah.
there. Because when it's handed to you with no instructions. So that means you got to be, it's so many, every line that you wrote in that was just like it tells so much. I am well made. That says so much. Quality chick. That says so much. I mean, you could be talking about yourself. So I guess what I'm getting at is, where did that come from with you? Like, where did the you know what I mean? Because like that's it ain't just entertaining. Like this, I loved it. Like that's dope. Like you can't judge a book by its cover type of person you are. Like you know what I'm saying. I would never know that your pen game was so strong like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So where do you just talk to me? Tell us where did that like come from? How do you know?
So I don't know. I don't remember specifically where that came from. And actually, I like recently kind of rewrote that recently and like kind of rejigged it a bit and shared it. And I think that like so my poetry is kind of weird for me because that's my like pure like some of the stuff I've written for fun just to try things. But most of my poetry is like pure therapy for me. And it's usually like I don't necessarily the poem isn't necessarily about what I'm dealing with. Like again, I'm trying to apply it to a situation, but that's basically like I've told people if I'm writing poetry, it's a bit of a cry for help because it's just like if I'm just feeling over emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes poetry, for
Mm-hmm.
some reason, poetry is that way. The it's like helps me express it, and it usually comes out of depression, unfortunately. But so yeah, it's just like usually I'm writing poetry when I'm in more of a darker space, but like sometimes it comes out of just other emotions, like but it's usually the strong ones. Like it's usually like anger, like joy or love or something. Like it comes from somewhere, but yeah, I don't specifically know what triggers or remember what triggered all these things, but yeah, it's just usually a state of mind, an emotional state, and like I try and relate, do something that's relatable. And again, people apply their own meaning to it. Like I forget what I actually forgot what's called it. I wrote one a while ago. I think it's like Yellow Brick Road or something. I think is the poem or whatever. But someone's like it's basically about a divorce, and someone read it and really connected with it, and they're like, oh, it's just like, yeah, we both went through a divorce. I'm like, you like really meant something to me. It's just like, you really like touched me with that. I'm just like, I've never been divorced. It's like, that's not actually the same thing, but that's it's just another one of those things where it's like people just really connect to it. So it's kind of, it's interesting the meaning that people take out of things. And again, like that's kind of what I feel like for me, one of the big things of writing is just connecting with people and if people take something away with it, even if it's not what you expected them to take away from it at all. Like it doesn't matter. Like your people find meaning where they need it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think poetry is one of those things that's very it can be very ambiguous because like you said, you can be talking about anything and like and I think that's almost sometimes feels like it's not some poetry is very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's but even if it's obvious there might be layers that you've never thought about it. But yeah, I think that just gives people a chance to find meaning out of it. And even like just same thing with prose, like you're telling a story but there could be all this hidden meaning that if you really pick it apart you can find more to it and find pieces to it and again just connect with it. And I think it's really cool when you kind of write about something that like you haven't been through and someone's like I really connect to this. Like again, I wrote this very short story just about this teenage girl getting an abortion. And I had a whole and I wrote it with from a first person perspective, so like I and then I had people reach out to me but like I'm so sorry you went through that. I'm like oh, this isn't about me. Just like, and I had a little moment where I'm like, man, I gotta be careful what I write. People are
Yeah.
gonna be like, people are like, oh my god, I can't believe you went through this. Your parents are awful people. I'm like, oh, this isn't a real
Not
story.
me. It's not me.
Yeah, I think this is why you write fantasy, so people don't be like, oh, I'm sorry about that time you like I said, like where an elephant went to space, like you add that like little bit of distance. So like when you're writing stuff that's like from real life and but still fiction, I think sometimes people are like, oh, this happened to you and this is your opinion, and it isn't always your opinion. Like you're writing characters, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but still, it's just finding ways to connect with people in different ways and all that
Well,
stuff.
it's definitely a connector because, like I was saying a moment ago, the one where you was talking about the one that touched me the most was the one before that one. In fact, this side up, the one I'm talking about is right after it. and it's the one where you basically say you realize what's holding me back is me, and me
Yeah.
doing what I do in the podcast world, interview world. Still feel like I'm amateur. I've been in it for about 4 years, but I've been in different scenarios, and you know what I'm saying. The other scenario was better than the one I have now, but this one right here shows more of my originality. And since I've been doing my own by myself, like you said in your poem, I've realized that what holding me back was me because I have met more people like you and others. I have networked with more people like Paul and others. And you know, as I look on this map, because I always keep a map on my wall, and it's like, wow, I done talked to almost at least one person in all 50 states and at least two or
Yeah.
three people on the other side of the map that I can't see, and then Canada right there. I'm talking to people in Canada, Mexico, and it's like, wow, Alaska. I'm like, man, East Africa. I'm like, man, and it's like I don't give myself the credit because I know I can still do better. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
don't sell yourself short either. Somebody taught me that well too, as well. You know what I mean? But either or, it's all in the same container. Like I basically learned from that. So what you're saying is
Yeah.
very much true. People do connect to what you say and how you put it down. You know what I'm saying? And I like I said, I just like how you got some. Your pen is great. You got a yeah, you got a good thinker up there. I really enjoy that. You know what I'm saying? Plus, I'm into hip hop music and stuff like that too. So it's and I'm into different type of hip hop. So when people write stuff like that, and then I write used to do that and write, still write. And it's like, you know, like you said, when something bothered me, you know, I write it down. And I write it down in a form where I make it where I can bob my head to when I listen to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when I was reading like the way I read this side up, I know you probably didn't write it how I read it. I read it like I was listening to a song. You know what I'm saying? That's what
Yeah.
got me. You know what I mean? So I ain't trying to change your
Yeah.
stuff. I'm just saying it's dope. I like it. It's dope. It's dope. I like
Yeah.
that. Thank you. And I, you
Well,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
there's one poem in there that I actually wrote after watching a video by Vox, and basically it was talking about like the world's best rapper or something, and it was talking about how like how he's like so skilled and stuff with his rhymes, and I actually forget who it is off the top of my head, but I was just like, I want to try this. So I like went in and like again just picked a story and just or picked a topic and a theme, and so like as I said, like not all of it's just like pure emotion. Just be crying on the page and bleeding on the page or anything. But yeah, sometimes it's just playing around and having fun and stuff. And like not everything, like kind of the same thing where it's just not taking yourself too seriously. The same thing with like your writing. Like a lot of my stuff does seem to be fairly serious, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think that like it's important to be silly, and I definitely have a few like stuff that's not out there yet, but a few things that I'm like they're just silly and they're fun, and like maybe they're not going to change lives and connect with people in that like really like emotional way, but like making someone laugh is important too, and that's an
Mhm.
important emotion, especially like not everything needs to be so dark and depressing, which my writing tends to go a little dark and depressing, but it's fun to mix in humor or like have little moments where people you like shake people out of it and
Yes, ma'am.
surprise people and
I agree with that totally. Okay. Let's segue into your short stories. The Seedling, Unhumaning, Before My Eyes, Sisterly Love, and Stitch Black. Am I right? Are those right?
yep,
Okay.
yep,
Dealing those stories are dealing with flash fiction, paranormal horror, sci-fi, contemporary story focusing uh, the process in creating short stories. Uh, what is your focus points? Like, how do you create? Because all them stories are different, and they all have their little different uh, recipes. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as like I was saying, whatever the focus is on the story. So
yeah.
how do you separate those or break those down like that when you do your short story? Basically, your process in doing the short story, because the short story is different from a novel. Am I right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I've definitely leaned more into short stories. Like when I first started trying to write, my goal was to be a novel, and I think a lot of people come into that wanting to be like a bestseller in New York Times and all those things. And
Hmm.
but my brain just did not seem like it was very well suited for that at the time. I kind of joked I'm really good at writing the first 10,000 words of a story, and then like I'm good at the start and the beginning, and it's all the middle that like I struggle with. But also the middle is pretty important. You have to connect A to Z. So yeah, I think I kind of I started writing short stories for a couple of reasons. Like there was basically this little contest that had opened up, and a lot of my friends and stuff were writing short stories, and so I kind of just did them with those, or started writing short stories with them and submitting some stories. And then lots of times there was prompts associated with them, so that kind of, I guess, gave you a starting point of like kind of what your story needed to at least focus on. So I think some of those stories are from that, like the Seedling and Sisterly Love, at least are from that.
Hmm.
And then another thing that really got me into writing short stories was I started off coming in with like almost as like a fantasy writer. I think was where I kind of started my whole writing journey. And then I started to really connect to the horror community because I was writing dark fantasy. And so there was one of my friends was writing or he'd started a podcast where they had like voice actors and kind of um, sound effects people and stuff. And he's just like, yeah, you should submit to this and like maybe we can read your story. And I kept trying to write stories for that. But there was like all these limitations where it's just like it has to be, I think it had to be first person, and I think it had to be like past tense, and your main character had to die and all this stuff. So I kept trying to write these stories, but I'm like, oh, this story doesn't want to be in first person, or this story wants to be in present tense. So I kept, or like, it doesn't make sense if the main character dies, it makes sense if this character dies. And so I kept writing all these stories, and that's kind of where I ended up with this big collection of them that I didn't really know what to do with. And there's a whole bunch of ones that I'm like just kind of sitting on, and like, and then there's a few that just kind of fall out. So like Unhumaning is basically, I tried writing that for that podcast. And then like, but Before My Eyes is, that one, I think that was just a story that kind of fell out. I don't think it was for a purpose. And it was one of those things where, yeah, it just kind of fell out of me and I got to figure out what to do with it. I think that's kind of in general short stories. Like you either need to, I don't know, a lot of people kind of submit them to magazines or like literary magazines or anthologies and stuff. And I think sometimes it's just waiting to figure out where their home is. And like, I could do something with them myself, and like make my own anthology of my own short stories and stuff. But
Hmm.
yeah, just right now they're kind of sitting there. I'm just going to see what happens with them. But yeah, I find that short stories just work better. I find them a little easier for me personally because Sister Grimm technically started off as a graphic novel and we're turning it into a mini series. And like, it almost feels like a bit of a cheat that it's like my first novel I wrote because it's a graphic novel, so it's kind of just like brief scene descriptions and then just a whole bunch of dialogue for the most part. But like the story's there,
Hmm.
but it doesn't. And I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh, it's not like a real novel, but like it's definitely novel length and all that stuff. So like I do count it.
Yeah.
No one can stop me from counting it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I find like short stories like you don't have to worry about like short stories are nice because they're short. You don't have to worry about all like so much backstory and like what happens next, and you don't have all these side stories and sub stories and all that stuff. So you can just kind of it's easier, I think, because it almost feels like there's less at stake and there's less to keep track of. And I'm not a very good outliner and plotter and stuff. I kind of just wing what I write for the most part. I'm like, I have a general idea where it starts and where it ends, and then need to figure out how to get there in between. And I think short stories are nicer because the like starting point and the ending point are just that much closer together. So it's kind of easier to find your way as opposed to when you're 10,000 words into a novel and you're like, can't see the finish at all. You're just
Okay.
like, I don't know how to get there. So yeah, I think that's kind of why it's nice to just have short stories as a fallback. And then like not a fallback, but like as something that I could focus on
Okay.
because when novels weren't really going going the way I wanted them to.
And I know you was I had there's something else I had wrote down too. In 2018, you was part of a 100-word horror story challenge. I was going to ask you how that went, but I think you already answered that. That's pretty much that's part of the whole Rubik's cube of what you was telling me. You know what I'm saying? But how
Yeah.
did that go though? I mean, how did that go?
that was just another thing where there was just a writer who wrote horror, and again, she was on Twitter. I think her account still exists, but I don't know. I haven't seen her for a while, which is always sad. It's sad when you connect with people and you only really connected with them like on one platform and then they disappear.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just had a blog and she was just for the month of Halloween was just sharing, inviting people to kind of submit some stories that she would share on her website. And again, it's just low commitment, and so I just sent her a story and like, yeah, she's a good friend and she had a little kooky sense of humor and dark sense of humor and stuff. But so yeah, she's just kind of supporting her website and being involved and stuff. So yeah, it didn't really go anywhere, but like it's still there. It's like my first like blog publication, I suppose. Like I way back when I tried doing my own blogs and stuff, and my motivation and commitment for them was just super low. But
Mm-hmm.
other people were into them, and so yeah, I just supporting her and her idea and help getting it out there by submitting my own thing.
Sweet.
So yeah.
Okay. And do you have any new upcoming short stories coming? The end of 2021 or the beginning of 2022?
Definitely not 2021. Running out of time there. But I have kind of two things working on. So I have like a picture book coming out in, I want to say spring. One of those things where I would love to be able to give a specific deadline, but having a baby in January, assuming it doesn't come in December. But I think that just kind of makes the timeline a little more hard to nail down. Got to keep it a little more flexible. Don't want to overwhelm myself with trying to get a book out there. So yeah, I have that one. That one's Babies with Rabies. It's like this kind of inappropriate parenting book. That's kind of one of the sillier ones I have. And then again, I think the other one that, and these are kind of more personal projects, I suppose, like not necessarily ASAP related, although ASAP's always, and all the people are always really supportive of all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, that short story I kind of wrote for that anthology that didn't make it. I feel like I want to play around more with that because again, it's kind of dark and silly, and I think it'd be fun to expand it because it was one of those ones where I'm just like, I made it a short story just because that was kind of the limitations of the anthology, but it feels like there could be a lot of world building in it. And it's basically kind of like a Halloween Christmas mashup. Like it's called at least the working title right now is oh man, what is it called? I think it's got Santa Hollow and the Legend of the Headless Snowman. Is that one? So it's like that's like a mix of like Sleepy Hollow and the Headless Horseman, and it's like has some Frankenstein to it and has some like Sword in the Stone to it, and then it's all kind of happens at the North Pole. So it's like, I don't know, it's just kind of this like weird little thing. And I think it involved like a lot of world building, and I think it was kind of too big for a short story. So I think that it would be fun to kind of expand on that. Like it might still, I don't think it'll be like a novel necessarily, but I think it'd be fun to kind of expand that out and beef it up a little bit more and put it out there. And it's one of those ones where when I think about the premise of it, I just like giggle to myself. So and same with Babies with Rabies. They're both kind of really silly stories, but I don't know, it's kind of funny that out of everything, those are the ones that I'm like want to put out most. I just want to show off my weird mind to people. Like, this is my warped sense of humor. Support me.
And that's that. And I never would have known. Like, I didn't know that you were so into like the horror stuff and the paranormal. Because like you wouldn't know it unless somebody talked to you. You know what I'm saying? Like you wouldn't know it. Like because you don't look like somebody who into the horror. You know what I mean? You just got the bright look. You don't look like it. But then once you start talking about it, it's like, oh, okay. So you into that? Because I got a homeboy, one of my best friends. He has a horror channel, and you know what I mean. That was his niche for podcasting. It was horror, and you know, but he looked the part though. Like he looked it. Like I mean, you could tell. Like man, you're into something. If you ain't into horror, you're into something. You know what I mean? So that's cool to know about you. I asked you that to bring into this. How has any one world changed, you know what I mean, the power of the indie comics, the writers, the editors, etc. in your thoughts? Like how has any one world made it? How do you feel like it's made it stronger for people? You know what I'm saying, up and coming, and yourself and the other ones in the squad as well. Like, how is it? How do you feel like it's just bringing more power to the indie line of comics? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it's just one of those, it gives people another option. Like, I think that there's a lot of people who are hesitant to do things. Like, self-publishing by itself is, you have a lot to learn. And if that's like, I think that is a deterrent for a lot of people. Like, it in itself, like the whole traditional publishing world and writing your stories, and like if it's comics and getting an artist, like trying to find an artist and do all that stuff yourself, and then query and submit your stories to publishers and have to deal with rejections and stuff. Like, I think that's like pretty intimidating. And then I guess if that ends up not being a route people want to go, and whether it's because they got rejected and they just want to try to do it themselves, or they actually want to just like start out doing self-publishing, like it's not, self-publishing is not a fallback, like it's also a choice. um I think that there's just like a lot of really intimidating factors, and I think with the anyone world, we've kind of created this place where it's just, people can come to us at all levels. So like they can come to us with finished projects, they can come to us with ideas, and they're like, just want to bounce things around. And we basically just want to help people. And if they need some support, and like we got editors on staff and we got graphic designers who can help. And yeah, I think it's just another one where we're just trying to build a community and kind of show people what's possible. And I think it's just another thing to be, well, it's a fun thing to be a part of, that yeah, have a whole bunch of people that maybe just aren't quite sure what that next step is. And not that we necessarily like have the answer, but it just gives you someone to like bounce ideas off of and work with people. And we do have some solutions for sure. Like we definitely have some our way of doing things, and like it's not necessarily for everyone, but it gives people just another option.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives people that support and some community, because sometimes doing all that stuff can feel really lonely, and like trying to figure out stuff. And if you've never done it before, like you, it's nice when someone can kind of tell you what mistakes they've made along the way, and kind of so people don't have to go through that same thing. Like I know even with my Babies with Rabies illustrator, like he's been illustrating for like 15 years or something like that, and he's just like, oh, I'd recommend doing this and this. I'm like, oh, I'd never thought of that. Like it's just nice to have other people to talk to,
Mm-hmm.
and basically be your support network, because not everyone has that, and it can be very intimidating. I think that any one world offers a great chance. It's almost like that, yeah, like we're a bit of a bridge between like self-publishing and indie publishing and stuff, and like we can help get your stuff out there if you need that support. And yeah, and like we always love to talk to people, hear ideas. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of just gives people another option. And I
Mm-hmm.
think like obviously with like being a part of it and stuff, like it's fun to see people come in with the different ideas, and you just have people from all walks of life. And as we kind of get bigger and more people know about us, it's kind of cool to just see it expand. And again, like you just get to see people's like publishing dreams, whether like we do comics, we do prose, we do whatever essentially. And it's cool to see that come through. And like we have ASAP minis too, which is for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing, like if you're a children's author, like it's kind of the same world where you can come and we can help you with that. And we've got like some artists we can connect you with. And so yeah, it's just basically we just want to help people get their stories out there. And that's like we want to get our stories out there, but we also want like kind of the whole rising tides lift all ships kind of thing. Like we just want to help people where we can.
Mm-hmm. And kick and now does this like Kickstarter? That's also a way to get into putting your own story in, right? I don't want to say it wrong, but I know I've heard Kickstarter a lot. I've heard
Yeah.
Kickstarter a lot. So, what you know what I'm saying? Teach me Kickstarter. Like what actually do Kickstarter do so I don't mess up?
Oh man, you're hoping that I know a lot about it. So we've had one. We've only done it once. We did it way back when we first started ASAP. Basically, we were kind of funding Messiah and Dead of Night, and then we had a whole bunch of rewards. So Kickstarter is kind of like kind of to the name. It's like helping creators kickstart their creation, I guess. So like a lot of people come with like in order to set something else, you probably need an idea. Like so for comics especially, like you need an idea, you need a story, and you need like probably need a little bit of art already. So
Hmm.
it's one of those things where you're just kind of putting yourself out there, and like it's a fundraising. It's kind of weird because it's like a fundraising platform, but it's also like it's in a way it's almost like pre-orders where it's kind of just like if people pre-order they get more perks. So it's
Mm.
just like so say that like normally like so like if we did Messiah #2, like if we kickstarted that, like they basically if someone supports that they might get like as a bonus or as a reward they might get a copy of #1 or something like that. So there's this kind of different incentive levels like based on how much money you donate and all that stuff. And yeah, and I think that, like it's also its own little community. Like you can like that part I don't know too well, but it seems like there's people who just kind of like go through Kickstarter and look for things they want to support, and it's just a whole bunch of creators, and like not all of them are indie necessarily. Like I know there's been some big names who've gone through there, and like I think like Keanu Reeves and his Berserker novel, I think, or graphic
Oh,
novel
really?
went through there.
Really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
like yeah, so
Okay.
there's like some big there's like some big names and stuff that go through there. So it's not like strictly indie isn't how I would describe it, but it's still that kind of like indie vibe and stuff, and people kind of just pushing their own creations through and getting it out in front of people. And like Kickstarter is one of those all or nothing, like you either meet your goal or you don't, and then you don't get any of the donations or stuff like
Okay.
that. But there's some other ones, like I know Indiegogo is a similar one, and but it's not all or nothing. So like if you only raise like 70% of your goal, you still get a you still get to keep that money. And then I think there's some more. Like I
Hmm.
know some people even just use GoFundMe. I don't think GoFundMe is as popular for that kind of stuff, but there's
Okay.
definitely like all kinds of routes you can go, and it's just another avenue to help kind of raise money and promote yourself and put yourself out there in front of people. And I find with like Kickstarter, especially because it's that all or nothing, you seem to have like other indies kind of rally around you. And it's just like there's kind of this initial surge. There's all these people who are like, oh, I can't wait to read this book. And then there's like, I think if people aren't quite at their goal, like in the last week, there seems to be a huge surge where like, we got to help these guys like
Hmm.
achieve their goal and stuff. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's cool to watch. And I've found some neat comics, mostly comics through there. I'm sure there's other stuff, but right now I'm just mostly looking for indie comics and indie creators and stuff. So yeah, it's a neat little place and neat little option.
Okay.
Like not that you have
Cool.
to do it every time, but it exists.
Yes, it does exist. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask because I know I've heard a lot about the Kickstarter. I know Paul had mentioned it. You know, or we talked about it when we talked about what it do and how, like you said, the name speaks for itself, Kickstarter. And if you put in the effort, you'll get the boost. You know, you'll get the kickstart. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
definitely understand that part, and I'm
Yeah.
thank you for straightening me out on that. Now
I don't know if I explained it very well.
yeah,
It's a
you explained it
terrifying
good
thing to do
enough.
with the whole like like
You
the
helped
whole
me.
all or nothing side of it is really terrifying because you put a goal that you like think is reasonable and you're like, oh my God, what if we don't get it? And yeah, it's like it feels like a weird stressful gamble, but like it can definitely pay off. And
Yeah,
like we've only done it once so far and
yeah,
met our goal, and so it was a mix of like kind of surprising because like you never know what you never know if people are going to see, especially that's starting out. Don't know if people are going to see that vision that you have, and
hmm,
but a lot of people did, and it was cool to have that kind of support, and hopefully that's ongoing and, and ever
yes,
growing.
yes. I hope so too. Straight up, you know what I mean. I mean, you got to invest in yourself though. You got to believe in yourself first. I mean, you know what I mean. Like you have to, but it does help that somebody take their time genuinely and say, "Hey, I think you did a great job. You should invest in yourself." That does help. That does help.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, I remember I mentioned this in the first. Now we finally got to this point. Comic Con artist. You fooled me because I was like, okay, she Comic Con. I seen Comic Con. I was like, okay, I didn't separate the two words, and I was like, Comic Con artist. Okay, let me go check her out. Let me see what Comic Con she done been at. So I go to your YouTube channel, and then you say right off the bat, um, conning people into thinking I know about comics. And I said, I can't wait till I get her right here so I can say, where did you get that from? Like, where'd that come from?
I don't remember where the title came around. I think it's another one of those things I was just joking with Paul, and I think that kind of came out of nowhere. We both kind of laughed about it. And I'm like, yeah, this is obviously the name for this because it's like a mix. Because I'm new to comics, so like I don't feel like I can't, not a seasoned vet that can give people a ton of advice and experience. Like I can tell you people a bit about my experience and what I know and what comics I've read, but I'm not I haven't been in the industry for 30 years. I haven't been reading comics for 30 years or anything like that. So like it was very much a platform for me to just kind of again, just maybe connect with people and make it seem that like everyone has to start somewhere, right?
Hmm.
So it was very much like yeah, just kind of creating a place where I can kind of just talk about my journey and originally like I was trying to get back into doing some art. And I think that was kind of the original where it's like and because art is more visual, I figured having a more visual platform. So like it's actually tied to one of my other Instagram accounts.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it was kind of just a place to kind of keep me accountable. And also just like at the time I was starting to write Sister Grimm. I was reading more comics. I just kind of, again, it just gave me a place to kind of talk about comics and share my impressions. It's just kind of like a newbie to the whole industry, I guess. And you have to talk about my writings. So there's just this supposed to be this very casual thing where I just I don't know talk to myself and maybe someone will listen. But yeah, so that's what I mean. Like it's just like I think the whole like Comic Con artist is like obviously it's like a whole play on like the whole Comic Con obviously and like maybe one day my art will be to some kind of quality where it can be in comics. But right now I'm just kind of dabbling again and yeah, like I said, it's kind of a joke that I'm just conning people into thinking I know stuff about comics because yeah, I do feel really do. I'm like out of all the places that I feel like my imposter syndrome is the worst, it's definitely when I'm talking about comics and with people who really know their stuff. Like thankfully I don't have that as much just with my writing, but when people start talking about comics, so like most of my stuff comes from movies or like 80s cartoons or something. So like yeah, people start throwing out like, oh, in this issue, and then I'm just like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know the storyline. So yeah, it's just kind of. I think it was because when I joined comics, it felt kind of like a tricky fandom to break into,
Hmm.
and I think that was like it was pretty intimidating to come in and just be like, yeah, I don't really know much about comics, but I'm going to try and just insert myself into the community and write comics. So I think the whole point was just to try and make it more accessible and just be like, hey, like if I can do it, other people can do it too. Like
Hmm.
you don't like everyone's got to start somewhere,
Right.
and that's all. And that was like kind of the whole point of it. And I know Paul likes to remind me, it's just like just because like there's like comics is huge. It's just like just because like even if you've been reading it for 30 years or been reading comics for 30 years, like you could stumble into some kind of niche of the whole comic world and have no idea what people are talking about because you just don't like read that stuff or you've never gotten into that side of things or it's like a company you've never heard of or a style you've never heard of. Like it's so vast. So there's always going to be some place where you kind of feel out of place, I suppose. But thankfully, a lot of people I've ran into are just very welcoming and they're like, I think if you come in with a willingness to learn and experience new things, people are really willing to share their own knowledge and yeah, not like there's always going to be some people who kind of have their opinions of it they think are superior.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that like people have been really welcoming and stuff, so it's just been fun. I've been trying to be transparent about the whole journey and learning
Hmm.
and getting better and stuff. Like I said, I don't pretend to be an expert on this stuff. So just I'm just another one of those people that I don't know got sucked into a certain got sucked into comics and ended up being fairly passionate or actually like really passionate about it even though and it's weird being passionate about something that you don't feel like you know a lot about. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think that yeah, just want to share it and make it more accessible to people.
And
So
you do have a good number of episodes. So what you know what I mean, just to touch on what's some of the titles of topics that you talk about on your YouTube channel. Comic Con artists. Please follow,
Yeah.
subscribe, hit the button, hit the subscribe, hit the button, hit the bell. Comic
Yeah.
Con artists. Just go ahead, go ahead.
You do a better job of remembering to tell people to do that than I do. But yeah, I think the first few episodes were kind of just talking more about like how I got into comics and kind of like my journey and stuff. And then I started mixed in some art. Like I said, I was kind of started it to so I could be accountable to myself and draw more. So I did like a 30-day drawing challenge, and then I did Inktober, which is I don't know if that's like this like monthly it's like this monthly challenge where there's prompts every day and then people just share their art. So I did that, and then I've just been like reviewing some comics and stuff, and just again like so it's kind of tricky because like I, there's some writing I can talk about, but a lot of the stuff is like for ASAP specifically, so it's like
Okay.
NDA and stuff, so I can't. So a
Yeah.
lot of the ASAP stuff ends up on the ASAP channel, but which is also subscribe and hit the bell and all that stuff to the ASAP YouTube channel. So, but yeah, it's like because I'll have like some stuff there, and I'll probably have more stuff there. But yeah, like I try and talk about my writing where I can, and but it's probably going to be more personal projects. Like at some point, Babies with Rabies is coming together pretty. Like it's getting pretty close to being fully coming together here, so I'll probably be talking about that more and hopefully sharing some covers or I don't know, doing talking about talking about that whole journey. And yeah, so it's like I said, it's just a mix of comic reviews and like I started off reviewing like Watchmen and like kind of even now some like movies and stuff. Like I did Constantine and Mask of Phantasm and stuff with Batman. And then I kind of started switching into more of the indie stuff and kind of same thing. Like I just it's fun supporting indies. So if I can just review some comics and talk about their stuff, and like as you meet new people and make new friends, you can kind of just highlight their stuff and talk about their stuff because it all seems to be great. I
Hmm.
haven't really ran across anything where I'm like, this is garbage. But yeah, it's fun though. You just get to read all these unique stories.
And
So that's
when I'm sorry, go ahead, finish what you're saying. I'm
no,
sorry.
yeah. I was just gonna say, and that's it.
Oh, now with you having this, you have an Instagram page. You have a you have two Instagram pages. You have an artwork page, and you have your regular page. Then you have your LinkedIn page, which shows where we can find you at lacunningham.com, where you have your author site and all the stuff about perspectives, points of villainy, points of virtue, and the other stuff that's going on within the ASAP world, anyone world, and what you have going on. And then you got your Twitter page. I think you have a Facebook page. I'm not for sure. Do you have a Facebook? Or are you
um,
full Facebook? Basically, hold on.
Facebook, yeah.
Basically just tell me and us what pages you have or which pages that
Yeah,
you do your most work on typing that
yeah.
type of thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no worries. Twitter is like my most active one because I think just that's where I like connected with a lot of people. And then like I guess my YouTube page or YouTube channel, I guess that's the word. Like that's me talking about just the journey and stuff and doing the reviews and art and stuff. Um, and then there's like I said, there's an Instagram page that links to that where actually like if you don't want if you don't want to watch all the videos, you can just go there and like see the art or have a quick recap of what the episode is about.
Hmm.
And there's my author page on Instagram, which isn't like super active. Like I'm not a huge user of Instagram. And then my Facebook page is mostly just like my personal stuff. So I don't like
Yeah, you don't. Yeah.
it's one of those, yeah, I don't do
Yes.
much with it, but like
Yeah.
I use it to kind of connect. Like Facebook I kind of like because there's all those kind of comic groups. Like there's groups you can join, which doesn't seem to be a thing on Twitter or Instagram. Like
Okay.
Twitter and Instagram are more hashtag based.
Hmm.
Whereas, so Facebook, I like because I can go to like, there's a few comic groups I'm in where people just talk about random things or share their art or something. So I have like, I like kind of use it, but like I don't like actively promote it because like it's connected to all my like regular family and friends and stuff. So I don't like
Hmm.
use it for really promotion. It's more to just kind of connect to some of those comic groups, I suppose. yeah, and I think that's all I got. Like I said, we have my main website, and technically I have LinkedIn where I share some of our stuff. Again, I barely use that. That's more, I think Paul uses that one more.
Okay, okay.
But still, every now and then I post something there to update some people I used to work with.
All right. And it's always good to let people know, what I'm saying, where to find you at because, you do have those that's upcoming and be wanting to know, like what to do or what to see or just looking for something new to look at, to read, looking for new authors. Because I do have friends that look for new authors and new people's stories to read, especially in the world. So, what I mean? The Inner One World is a great place for me to let people know, like, hey, if you're looking for some new stuff to read, and more of what you like to read, check out 16 authors right here. So take your pick. You got 16 authors, you know what I mean? And each one of them got something that's that's gonna like catch you. Something's gonna catch your attention. You know what I'm saying? There's no way you can
Yeah,
get through
yeah,
1 through 16 and nothing not catch your attention. And you just ain't no
yeah,
good reader then if you can't. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, and your artwork. Um, you got pictures of Gizmo, Darth Vader, uh, the Mario Fireball plant. This is one of my favorite little things about Mario and Luigi, besides the mushroom and the little star dude. Uh,
Yeah.
Toucan Sam, the Tick. A lot of people know about the Tick. A lot of folks right now don't know about the
Yeah,
Tick. I'm
yeah.
1980 born. I'm born right on 1980. So I was 80 born, but I was 90 raised. So they don't know, but some people don't know about that. Uh, and that was just to name a few of your paintings, you know what I'm saying, or your artwork that you do, whether you call it drawing or sketching or painting or whatever you call it. Uh,
Yeah.
how long have you been able to draw like that? And do you plan on, what I'm saying, uplifting your artwork more? Because I know you said earlier you said something like, how did you say it? My artwork good enough to put in the comic book. I can't do it, so yeah, I think your artwork good enough to put in the comic book. So yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
elaborate on that.
I think you know why it isn't is because I find people so hard to draw, like hands and proportions and faces. Like that typically seems to be what comics need. They're usually focused around people. Like, yes, I could do something kind of more cartoony and stuff. And way back when I was little, like that's like what I used to draw more like animals and stuff. But yeah, it's just kind of like all the stuff I posted is kind of just it's been prompt related, or it's almost been more studies where I've been kind of looking at a picture and seeing if I can do it and kind of see what my style is. Like I feel like I'm so like I used to draw like as soon as you're little, you pick up a pen and you start coloring and stuff, right?
Hmm.
And then I think for like a while growing up, I did it, and then I definitely let it go. And so just picking it back up, like it's kind of nice to see that I still have some skill, because you definitely when you don't do it for so long, it feels really rusty. And yeah, I think that like it's something I want to do more.
Hmm.
And I think during October, I was kind of just posting things here and there, and I think just because I kind of put more effort into them and they were a little more polished, like they weren't just sketches, that people were commenting on them more. And like someone bought one of them, which was like crazy to me. I'm like, what? People actually like would pay for my art. And
Yeah.
I know I'd posted a dragon on people, and a whole bunch of people were like, "Oh, would you like commission a dragon for me?" And I'm just like, "Wait, is this a thing?" So like, yeah, that kind of it almost I think it planted a seed where like I don't have time for this right now. Like there's way too much going on. But like there is potential. Like I still want to keep going. Like not necessarily draw every day like I was in October, but to kind of keep it going. Submit to ASAP, yeah. I actually tried drawing Lily Connors, and I posted her up on our Patreon page. So that was my first attempt at trying to draw like a comic for us. But yeah, so like I was just like posting some stuff, and like people were interested in it. So I think it planted the seed where I'm like, maybe I could do something with my art as well. Like the idea of drawing a full comic is pretty intimidating to have
Mm.
like panels and different perspectives. And like I said, people, I find I'd have to really practice drawing people before I think I could legit draw a comic that with like actual living living characters, if that makes sense. But yeah, so like maybe one day, but right now it's kind of just something I'm playing around with. Like it's something that like yes, I want to get better, but I don't have like I think that there's maybe kind of like again, like you said as you hit milestones, things start to seem more possible. I think there's this like really vague, distant dream that like maybe one day I could draw one of my comics, but right now it seems pretty far away. I think there's a whole bunch of kind of more milestones to hit, little steps
Hmm.
to hit along the way before that seems like something's going to come out of it.
Now,
But yeah,
let's
for
just
like right
say,
now, maybe fan art or something.
okay, now let's just say that somebody see your work, somebody look at your art and they be like stuff that you draw, and they're like, oh man, you know, they're like, oh they big, they giving you the biggest compliments, like, oh I like this, I like that, and then they say something like, do you do logos? Can you do my logo? Have you got that? Have you got that?
Honestly, not really. I think because like my art's like fairly new and it's kind of just hitting family and friends, like it's not really getting too far out there. That I don't think I don't, and I'm not really like promoting it. It's kind of just sort of like, hey, if you want to look at my art, it's over here. So yeah, I haven't had like I've had people kind of ask about commissions, but more kind of like related to what I post. Like when I post the dragon, people are like, oh, would you do dragon commissions?
Mm-hmm.
So and same thing, like maybe eventually, but like right now I don't have the time. Like the fact that the one person just bought my art is like it already existed. I didn't have to like do much else. Like I didn't have to go draw on something to his specifications. Whereas like to do commissions, suddenly like people have requests and I might need to do changes and yeah, it's just it adds that like extra pressure and time commitment that I'm not quite looking for right now. But I
Mm-hmm.
do it is something like I said, it's a seed that's been planted and I don't know. Logos are one of those things where I used to have graphic design aspirations where like maybe I should be a graphic designer and like still I think that's kind of like deviated more to like want to be like if anything to be more of like an illustrator and like
Mm-hmm.
not do so much on the logo side of stuff. But I don't know. Like it's one of those things where it's an option. Like who knows where paths will lead and kind of see where things go. Take
Right.
opportunities as they arise and if you have time and capacity again. So I'm not really like I'm not really like everything's an option. I'm not going to close doors before I before I open them and look. I
Yeah.
guess like you
Yeah.
don't have to walk through all the doors, but sometimes it's worth just having a look, see
Yeah.
if it's worth walking through.
And that's good that you have to give yourself options, because I'm pretty sure you ain't just trying to walk on one road. You know what I'm saying? Like I know you wanna, like you said, you have, like as I'm looking, you have different parts about you that you do. Writer, editor in chief, author, artist. You know what I'm saying? Adventurous, and that I know that's adventurous. That's pretty much everyday life for you. But then once you start adding your own thing, like you say, you went to different countries, different cities, finding out new things. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that adventurous part of you is not just meaning going hiking or going, you know what I'm saying, something like that. You meaning like everyday learning adventurous, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely has both of those meanings. So like yeah, like going on hikes and going to new countries is fun, but it's also just trying new things, and that definitely means like just like little things in your personal life too, like signing up for new courses, learning new things, or yeah, just trying stuff really.
Yes,
Like
yes.
yeah, and not everything needs to be a big commitment, right? Like you can just try stuff, and if it's not for you, just back away and try something new. Even if you've overcommitted to something and just sunk a whole bunch of money and time into something, like you can always back out. Like I think one of those things that people always have like, oh, the never give up attitude, where I'm just like, I don't know, like if you're passionate about something or thought you're passionate about something and you kind of lose that drive for it and decide it's not for you, like I think there's like it takes a lot of courage to quit something that you thought was
Hmm.
for you. I think that's also like important to remember. It's just like if this doesn't like same thing like for what I'm doing right now, like I love it, and if it wasn't like if working for ASAP and writing and dabbling in art and playing with comics and stuff wasn't as fun as it is, like why would I do this? Like there's so many other things you can do with your life, so it's kind of like just yeah, like you don't want to turn all of your passions into jobs, but like if
Right.
man, if you can keep your passion going and things are still fun and like go for it. But if it isn't, like definitely look for different routes. There's lots of things you can do with your life.
Yes.
Change your mind.
Right. Right. Well, let's see. So I'm pretty sure that I'm thinking that we touched on I think I touched every topic about you just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Because people gotta buy the books. People gotta get into the book, buy the book, jump into and see what the stories is. Because you can't tell the story
Yeah.
because you got to read it. So we need all the readers to come on in and make sure that y'all check out, Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue, Messiah. Check out all the Any One World, ASAP World books, comic, novels, short stories, and so on. Make sure that y'all do that. You know what I mean? Uh,
Yeah.
Now it's time to jump into the last part of this interview, which will be the bonus round, the rapid round. We'll still have a little fun.
Sure.
I gotta have a little fun with you now. So basically, we
Sure.
got two rounds, real quick. First round, I'm gonna say two things. You pick which one you like the best, or you can say neither, or you can say both. And the next
Sure.
round, and the second round will be words that specifically deal with with L.A. Cunningham, Laurie, and you just tell me how they make you feel, or us how they
Sure.
make you feel. So anyway, let's get into round one. We'll start it off like
Okay.
this. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Radio or podcast?
Um. Ooh. I want to say podcast, although I do love listening to music. Like podcast for learning and for conversations. Radio for like music.
Okay. Okay. Um, writing or reading?
Oh man, these are all hard. This is too hard already. Writing, I think.
Okay. Okay. Um, fantasy, magical fantasy, or sci-fi thriller?
Mm, mm, I want to say sci-fi thriller for books. For movies, it might or like shows and stuff. Like I don't like super scary. Like I like reading scary stuff, but watching scary stuff. I don't like jump scares and stuff. Sometimes when it's on TV or on the screen, it's too real. so,
Okay.
so yeah, so I think yeah, sci-fi thriller.
Sci-fi thriller.
We'll go with that one. Yeah,
Okay. Pick an easy one. Dogs or cats?
that one actually isn't easy. I think I'm more of a cat person actually, but I have a dog.
Okay. Okay. Um, camping or hiking?
Hiking.
Hiking. All right. Um, magic or horror?
Magic.
Okay. Um, art or adventure?
Mm. After what we just talked about, I'm gonna go with adventure. I think that covers a lot.
Okay. Um, a rainy day or a snowy day?
Rainy.
Rainy. Okay.
If I'm inside, to be fair. If I'm outside,
Okay.
I've actually like snowy days. Yeah, because rain soaks through all your clothes, but I like thunderstorms and like all that stuff. But snow is
Okay.
like gets you less wet.
Okay. What if it was a you got your pen, you got your notebook, and you're staring out the window type of moment? What if it was one of them moments?
I think rainy. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Um, fishing or hunting?
Fishing.
Okay. Drawing or painting?
Drawing.
Okay. Um, Toucan Sam or Snap Crackle and Pop?
Toucan Sam. Toucan
Okay.
Sam.
Toucan Sam. Okay. Okay. Um, newspaper or magazine?
Magazine, I suppose.
Magazine. Okay.
I can't remember the last time I read a newspaper. Unless I
Same
was just
here.
reading the funny stage,
Yeah.
doing those like little games that they do.
Or running in the store to grab something and you happen to see it over there in a little stack. I don't ever
Yeah.
buy one. Down here
Yeah.
in the South, when we go to the store, we always have stacks of papers right here because we ain't got. Yeah, anyway, that's a different story. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Jogging or swimming?
Swimming.
Swimming. Okay. Um, Typewriter or laptop?
Laptop.
Laptop.
I feel like I'm betraying my writer friends for that, but I've actually written on a typewriter. I feel like they're a novelty that some people like to use for nostalgia reasons, but
Hmm.
laptops are very convenient.
Okay. You know what? That's a coincidence you say that because I've heard that before. Nostalgic reasons. I've heard that before. I've always thought that just that it was a little more official when you do it on that typewriter because I
Yeah.
get what I'm saying. I guess it's just the just I didn't watch okay. I watched the movie Misery and it always made me think about a typewriter. Because I
Yeah.
hate what I mean. So that's just me. I'm old school like that. But
Yeah. I like the idea of a typewriter, but it seems like it's a lot of work to have to like lay out things. And if you need to edit something, I'm just like, yeah. I do appreciate the whole kind of like physical feedback you get from like the legit keys and I don't know, the dinging. I guess
like
I've
you
never
said,
actually used one.
the nostalgia, like you
Yeah,
said.
yeah, total nostalgia.
Okay. Okay. Here's a smiley one for you. Gizmo or the Gremlin?
Gizmo.
Gizmo. Okay. Um.
Gremlins are evil.
A waffle or pancake?
Waffle.
Waffle. Okay. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
waffles too. Hmm. Kindness or honesty?
Ooh. I want to go with ooh. You said I could say both. I feel like both are important, but I feel like honesty. I want to. I'm leaning that way a little bit.
Okay. If you can elaborate on it if you want to, like as far as like.
Well, I'm just thinking like sometimes like I don't know, like they like I don't know. There's that kind of thing where it's like you don't want to hurt people's feelings, but you also don't want to lie to people. Like so,
Hmm.
it's tricky, right?
Hmm.
So there's kind of like the need to be honest while being kind. If you can find that balance, I want to say, like
Right.
they're both important,
Right. Right.
but
You're
I'd
right.
rather have someone. I think personally, if someone, I'd rather have someone just tell me something than try and spare my feelings, but also not just tell me something just to hurt me.
Hmm.
So that's kind of where the kindness thing comes in. Like if
So
people are giving me a critique, I suppose.
so the ugly truth or a pretty lie? You probably go with the ugly
Yeah.
truth. You go with the ugly truth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're almost at the end of round one. Here we go.
Okay.
Drama or mystery?
Mystery maybe?
Mystery, maybe. Okay. All right.
Maybe?
All right.
Perhaps.
Summer or fall?
All.
Fall. Okay.
Yeah.
Only reason I asked you that one because you got a poem you wrote that's called Autumn's Autumn's Autumn
Is that
something.
the summer
Yeah,
theme?
yeah.
Yeah.
Summer thing. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I do my homework. Uh,
Yeah. I like
Comic.
summer, but I don't like being hot is my problem. Like I like summer if there's like a lake to swim in, but if I just have to sit there in 40-degree weather and sweat, not not as into that.
Now let me just ask. This is a question on top of my head. Would you be from where you from? Are you more cold nature person or are you more hot nature person? I just wanted to ask it.
I think more cold natured. Like I
Okay,
definitely prefer the colder seasons.
I got you.
Like
Okay.
I said, summer's nice because it's like you spend lots of time outside and there's lots to do and stuff. But like there's a certain temperature where I'm just like I'm just gonna. It's too hot to function.
Okay, I got you.
So,
And
although to be fair, there's a certain temperature here where it's too cold to function as well. So
oh,
we
okay,
have the
okay.
extremes.
All
Yeah.
right. Uh, Comic or novel?
Um. Lately, comics.
Really?
Yeah, I used to be a big novel person, but I feel like I'm reading a lot more comics. just
Oh,
obviously because I'm studying up on them.
okay, okay. I actually thought you was gonna say novel, so you got me on that one. You know what I'm saying? And the last one for this round: respect or loyalty.
I saw this on on Rita's podcast last night. I want to say respect.
Okay, okay. Elaborate on that, please. I would love to hear your point on that.
Yeah, I think that no, I guess it was. I don't know if it was this podcast last night. I don't know. I'm mixing up my days. Yeah, I think that like, oh, I feel like even commented on this, where it's just like, I think you want like, I don't want blind loyalty.
Hmm.
Like that's kind of what it is. I think like loyalty, you have the potential of people like just do stuff because they're loyal, not because they actually like agree with you or respect you and stuff. So I think that like, I think that's why respect, like loyalty is still nice,
Hmm.
but I think that like loyalty because of respect is kind of what you want, which I think like where I'm thinking that like respect is kind of the base, the foundation that you need, I suppose.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. Cool. Okay. And that was round one. You did great. You had some very entertaining answers. You know what I mean? I love doing that. And now round two. This is all about you. So I jotted down just a few words that that coincide with you, and you just tell me us how they make you feel. And starting with Sister
Sure.
Graham.
Um, proud.
Okay. Yes. Right. Perspectives.
um, touched.
Points of villainy.
Um, I feel like I want to say friendship on that. Just getting to write it with my best friend.
Okay.
Oh, it's always nice.
Um, your dog.
um, adorkable, I suppose. She's fluffy and lovable, but she's a bit of a dork.
The reason why I threw that one in there is I can tell that you and your dog got somewhat. I have to have a good relationship because lots of people that take pictures with their dogs have a close relationship with them, and you say it in your picture. This is the hardest dog to take a picture with, and that let me know, you done did that before. You know what I'm saying? So I know you love your pet,
Yeah,
basically. Uh,
yeah.
okay.
She's fun.
The next one. Just a second.
Creepy.
Creepy. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, being a mom.
Right now, my first word that comes up is exhausting, but like
Exhausted.
rewarding. Yeah, I think also being pregnant, it's a lot of work right now. But
Hmm.
yeah, I want to say rewarding as well.
Okay. Um, editor in chief.
Honored.
Honored. All right. Poetry.
Therapy.
Therapy. Activist.
Um, activist. I guess passionate.
Okay. Let me see. This one I had to. This one I hope this one here should spark a sale. Dandelions.
Dandelion. Resilient.
Resilient. The seedling.
um, heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. Being an author.
Um, hmm. I want to say like challenging, but also like surprising. I
Hmm.
guess it's like yeah, just where I want it, where I thought I would end up, and where I'm going. I think that's kind of the surprising side of it.
Okay. Okay. Um, Comic Con artist.
um, I don't know if I have a word for that. Um, connecting, I guess.
Connecting. Okay. Okay. Um, the year 2020.
Oh, which year was that? Last year. Man, mixed emotions on that one.
I feel you.
Yeah,
Okay.
there, a lot of hardship, but there was like that was the year I became a published author and joined ASAP and all that stuff. And
And
there's a lot of good,
everything
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
Okay. And the year 2021.
um, Stressful, but like again, good and bad stress. Like there's some things that were like hard to deal with, and some things that were just like a good kind of stress, just because I'm busy.
Okay, okay, okay. Um, Points of virtue.
Hopeful.
Hopeful. Hopeful. Okay. That's and with them books being together, I like separating them. I like doing that. You see,
Yeah.
I didn't put them in the other round because I didn't want you to have to pick. So I was like, I'm just gonna put
Fair.
these over here. So okay. Now last four. AF4 brand UK.
um, oh, I'm trying to think of a good word for that one. Um, Shoot, I can't think of the word for it. It's like right on my tongue. Inspirational. I'll go with
Inspirational.
inspirational.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Which
That's not quite the
which
word I'm thinking of, but it's close. It's close.
which let me just throw this in there. Which at AF4 brand UK you can find the Polish. It's Polish writing on the shirt, and it stands for in what world? Hold on, tell me what it stands for. World.
I'm pretty sure it's we are one
We
world.
are one
I think
world. We
that's
are
what
one world. That's
it's
right.
been a
That's
while.
right.
It's been a
That's
while
right.
since I've thought about that. So yeah.
And it's a selective few. Each one of y'all have no. Paul Daughter got a shirt. You got one. It's specifically y'all name like your shirt is Delory. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like his shirt
Yes.
is his daughter name. You know what I mean? And so on and so on. So people, please check that out. What's going on, Mac? I see you. That's my boy right there from Chi Town. Make sure that y'all check out AF4 at AF4 Brand UK. You know what I'm saying? If you're interested, go check out the clothing line. You know what I'm saying? Check out the Lori clothing line. You know what I'm saying? Back to this.
You can wear the lorry.
You can wear the Lori, you know what I mean? Um,
Not by skin, just a shirt.
just the shirt.
Yeah. No skin suits over there.
Okay, down to these last couple. We almost done. Any one word.
Um, Community.
Community. Messiah.
Um, I want to say like he's the original gangster. That's where it all began.
The OG. The OG.
The OG, yeah.
And the last one is ASAP Comics UK.
Family.
Family, you know what I'm saying? Right there where the heart is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's my found family.
you know what I mean? And so I just want to say, you know what I mean, where we at? We are at the end now. I like to say Miss LA, Miss Laurie. I keep saying Miss LA, but that's all I ever
It's
keep
okay.
saying.
I go
You
by
know
a
what I'm
lot of
saying?
names. It's
That's it.
fine.
So you know what I mean? I'm very inspired by what you do. Um, you have such great positive energy. You know what I'm saying? I can feel it through the screen right here. Like you have great energy, ma'am. You know what I mean? It ain't just because you pregnant and glowing. It ain't just that. You,
That's just sweat.
yeah,
Just sweat and misery.
see what I'm saying? I enjoyed the like you said this earlier, transparency. I enjoy the transparency. Like I can tell you one of the people that like when you don't hide nothing. You know, you honest about pretty much everything. And that's something that, is easy to believe in. And I'm one of the people that I believe in people real easy. You know what I mean? I follow people, I support people's groups, organizations, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And you one of them people that's worth it. Your team, the ASAP team is worth it. Paul worth it. You know what I mean? And they showed me
Yeah.
love. You showed me love. All y'all have showed love. And cause y'all doing some stuff that a lot of people can't do or not trying to do. or they second guessing themselves. And that's one thing about everybody I've met from the ASAP team. Y'all don't second guess yourself or each other, which is the reason why y'all are so tight. And I like to say that's very inspiring to me, ma'am. You know what I mean? And just I've had a great time, right now so far since we started. Just getting to meet you. Like I said, I've talked with one, two, three, four, five, six, at least six people out of the team, and they all have mentioned you in some shape, way, form, or fashion. They all have mentioned you. They all have mentioned you. Good stuff, of course. Y'all, you already know. Good stuff,
Of
of course.
course.
Of
I am a
course.
delight.
You know what I mean? So it was like, yo, I gotta talk with her. I need to talk with her and just, pick her brain a little bit about what she got going on, what's coming up. And now, what I'm saying, you're already a mom, gonna be a mom again. And I know that's work, stress,
Yeah.
pushing the body, but you know what I'm saying? Like you never stop creating. That's what it sounds like. You just create. You're a creator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're a creator.
Yes.
And you know what I mean?
Find a
And
way.
find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. You know what I'm saying? So even though it was early, because of the schedule that you have, what I'm saying, this was the time I could catch you. So I'm glad that I was able to catch up with you, ma'am. You know what I mean? And I hope that
Yeah,
I
me too.
touched, and I hope that I touched on everything basically that I needed to talk about with you. And also, just to ask you now, uh, are there any brand new or upcoming things besides having a new child? What other new upcoming things that you have coming up? I know you say a picture book,
Yeah.
and I let just take the flow. What you got coming new, man?
Yeah, from me, it's mostly so Babies with Rabies is kind of, like I said, my own personal project that's probably going to come up. I want to say spring in 2022.
Okay.
And then Sistergram is something I'm plugging away at. Again, we don't have a release date for it, but 2022 is probably, or I don't think it's a probably. Again, I'm not going to put, I'm having a baby, so I'm not going to put too much stress on myself. But
Yep.
yeah, so Sistergram should be the other one. Yeah, those are the main things. There might be other stuff that comes out, and I'll probably share some art and might do some more YouTube videos. I think things are gonna slow down a little bit, just kind of putting out content, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still gonna be a lot of work going on in the background, as there always is. So I'll still be around, and I'll get
Okay.
stuff out there eventually. But in good time, all in good time.
Okay. And let me see. And as far as what you use mostly, let the people watch it now and those that will watch later, what I'm saying, let them know where to find you at or what platforms that you stay on mostly. Plus, let people know your YouTube channel and blase blase.
Okay. So the one I use the most is Twitter, and that's at Lord Cunn.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have Instagram, which is this one, which I think it's at Laku Insta. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what it is. And then my YouTube channel is Comic Con Artist. And then I have another Instagram that shares the same name.
Mm-hmm.
And then my website is lacunningham.com. And of course, I'm very connected through ASAP, so be sure to follow ASAP on Twitter. ASAP's all over Twitter, TikTok, Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook. And then the website's asapcomicsuk.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have anyoneworld.com. We have asapminis.com.
Mm-hmm.
There's YouTube channels for ASAP as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have an app. Am I
That's
missing
fine.
anything? I feel
Forgot
like
about the
that.
app. I forgot about the app.
Yeah.
Forgot about the app.
Yeah, we
Yes.
got the app. Yeah, I think that's all of them. I think we have TikTok. Basically, every platform. We're on every platform.
Yeah, I think that's
So come
it.
find us, follow us, interact us, come talk with us. We're all very approachable people. At least I think
Yes.
so. Hopefully, we're not scaring people away.
Yes, 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 and also for the upcoming writers, second guessers, you know what I mean. Just a positive message. Let them know, hey, don't be scared. You know what I mean. Don't second guess yourself. Just reach out. Basically, just reach out.
Yeah,
Just
no
reach out.
self-projecting. Come talk to
Yes,
us.
just reach out. Okay. Well, Miss Cunningham, I believe I have held you long enough. You know what I mean? I hope you had fun. I hope you were comfortable, ma'am. I hope I was able to be a good host.
Yeah, it was tons of fun.
for this. You
And
know what I'm
we
saying?
appreciate the support. I know, like I said, it would feel like we're invading your channel,
Oh
just
no,
doing the
no,
ASAP
no,
takeover of
no, y'all ain't
it. But
invade that. I mean,
yeah,
I enjoy this. I need this. I'm learning
yeah,
more.
it's
You know
fun.
what I mean?
We're just trying to adopt you into our family. Before you know it, you'll be decked
Yeah,
out in full ASAP swag.
yeah, for real, for
You're like,
real.
what happened? What happened?
Yeah,
We just
actually,
kidnap you.
I gotta check out the website because you know what I'm saying. I see that y'all have some hats, ASL Common hats. I'm a big hat person, so I check out
Yeah,
one of the hats, and I need to get one of them shirts too. I need to, you know what I'm saying. So I'm working
yeah,
on it. I'm working on it,
yeah.
but
Sounds good.
I'm working on it.
Soon.
So, but
Get
I
some
want
ASAP tattoos. Get
to, yeah, well, you know,
on your
I ain't
face.
too big, I ain't too nice. I ain't too big on the tattoos. I ain't too big on the tattoo, but I'll take a pen or you know what I mean, or a poster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
As you can,
that's
you
fair.
know, you can see. I take, you know what I mean. But thank you so much once again, Miss Cunningham,
Yeah.
Laurie, Miss Laurie,
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
for coming. And I wanted to let you know, you know what I'm saying. I follow you. I hit the bell on your on YouTube channel, so anytime you
Thanks.
post, I'm gonna see it.
All right.
Instagram, Twitter. Anytime you post, I'm gonna see it. I follow you. So thank you very much, ma'am. Shout out to the ASAP team, Mr. Paul. Shout out to Sarah, Nemesis, Caleb, Tim, and dang, I know I'm forgetting somebody. I know I'm forgetting somebody. And Christian. And can't forget my boy Christian. I love Christian. That's my
Yeah.
partner. So shout out to
Yeah. Well,
everybody.
then you get to meet Paul and Micah
I gotta
on
meet
Sunday.
Paul. I gotta
Yeah.
meet Micah and Patty
Yeah.
Paul. Yeah, Patty Paul. I gotta meet them and Micah. So I gotta get
Yeah.
ready. Gotta get ready for that. And also I want to send my love and shout out and support to the Dyspraxia Foundation. You know what I'm saying? That's where all the proceeds went. All the proceeds are going from the charity from the charity of when y'all
The
did the
perspectives book. Yeah.
perspective book. So you know what I'm saying. I also want to give a shout out to that too as well. You know what I mean? Because y'all do a lot of work and y'all do a lot of work. You know what I mean? Y'all do a lot of work. You know what I mean? Y'all do a lot of work. So thank you, Mr. Paul, ASAP Comic UK. Thank you, Mr. Paul, for linking this up, getting everyone together, helping me, you know what I mean, with the research and talking to everybody. You know what I mean? Thank you, Miss LA, for getting to know you. I'll be watching you. And that's really all I can say. You know what I'm saying? I don't just appreciate. I thank you. I thank you. So I can't
Yeah.
say it enough, but it's just, you know, it's just the down south in me. I can't help it. I'm just, you know, polite people deserve politeness. So it's like, hey, I gotta be polite to you. You know what I mean? So thank you. You're a great person, man. You seem like you're a great human being. Uh,
You do.
your friends is lucky to have you. ASAP team, they lucky to have you. You know what I mean? So, God bless you, ma'am, and I wish you nothing but the best in every and anything you do or think. I hope everything that you think of come true. I wish you nothing but the best. I hope you have a great holiday, a great New Year's. I hope you have a great healthy big baby and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Not
So.
too big. Not too. Got to push that out of me.
My
But
bad.
yeah,
My bad.
like a slightly below average sized baby.
My My, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. More power to you. And I do mean more power, okay? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
All heart right here. We all heart right here.
yeah,
All heart. You see it? We all heart right here. So other than that, thank you very much, ma'am.
yeah.
I ain't gonna hold
Thanks
you up
for
no
having me.
longer.
This is fun.
And much love to you and everything. And I will see you. I'll see you in the scroll, and I'll see you in the next video.
All right,
All
sounds
right.
good.
All right.
I'll
And
talk to you
thanks.
later.
Thank you later. All right.
See you.
All right. All right, everybody. You know what I mean? Shout out to Shepard Brim, Stain 93. You know what I mean? Shout out to ASAP Comics UK. Once again, shout out to Miss LA Cunningham, Miss Laurie. You know what I mean? Shout out to everyone that support the cause, that support the movement. Any one world, your hashtag any one world, NE1 world. Y'all check that out. You're trying to be your own writer. You're trying to be your own, put out your own book, your own material. Go check them out. ASAP Comics UK. You know what I mean? They support the Distraction Foundation, which is a foundation that help You know what I mean? It's got something to do with the nerve system. Y'all check that. If you don't know, go do your homework and check it out. You know what I mean? Once again, shout out to Nim, shout out to Christian, Tim, Sarah, L.A. Cunningham, Paul, Caleb, you know what I mean? Patty Paul, shout out to all Michael, shout out to all of them, you know what I mean? Shout out to the Riff Raff Squad, shout out to the Common Dudes, Full Blast Radio, Spadonomic Commons, you know what I mean? Shout out to my partner Shepard Brims, you know what I mean? Shout out to 2021 Peace Walk Across America, British Malone, British Verse Sterling, y'all check, you know what I mean? Peep him out, Walking Across America. And other than that, I am Cooks 24 Podcast. Shout out to me. And I want to show y'all something before I go. I got my own pens now. So I'm gonna be you know what I mean? Put that on your hat, you can have it on your shirt. You know what I mean? But yeah, I got my own pens now, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? You gotta believe in yourself, you gotta invest in yourself, and it's like that, you know what I'm saying? So other than that, peace to everybody. Love what you like what you love. It's gonna love you back. And we out. Peace. Cruise 24. You know what I'm saying? This is how we do stuff. We show love around here, baby. ASAP Commerce UK. One love. Peace.